Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live right here on Thinking Critical YouTube after the channel was taken over, I guess, by Doomface yesterday for the kickoff of the big campaign. Congratulations to Aaron Sparrow here for the panel, only for an hour, but congratulations on all success, brother.
Yeah, we're only like $1,100 away from funding, within 12 hours. So that's been pretty great. The response has been fantastic. And we had a lot of fun last night. Doomface took over the channel. He also destroyed my audio. So I apologize to everybody who had me screaming into their ear last night. But, somehow in travel, like Wes and I just had to do a bunch of tech work on trying to get my sound to be okay.
Do you have a new appreciation for my abilities as the host of the Comics Aficionados now?
I do. You have to watch. You have to watch and see if people are coming in. You have to try and figure out how to put videos and load things in while people are talking and not kick yourself out of the stream, which I almost did.
Absolutely. You got to keep Jesse Blaze Snyder in line, not getting me demonetized.
Unfortunately, we didn't have Jesse last night, so I didn't have to deal with any of that. But we had an absolute blast, and the Thinking Critical family showed up, and we had a fun conversation. And I actually got a couple people on the channel that have never been here before. We had Vex Electronica on the channel, and we had Dante from Verbal Riot.
Very, very cool. Sounds like it was a blast. And you were in Jersey for Warhammer Con?
No, Legion's Con for the Mythic Legion's toy line by the Four Horsemen. So I will be at the table today, signing anything that anybody brings me, and painting, painting different sculpts for people live.
Very nice. So you're going to bring any of your prints for Kneel Before Doomface, just in case you got some Doomface fans in Jersey?
I did not, because I still have, for those of you that ordered, some of the orders have gone out, and I'm finishing the rest of them when I get home. So I wasn't sure what stock I would have left by the time I was done, so I didn't bring anything with me.
Very nice. Are you going to go to the very first ever Jersey Mike's and get a sandwich?
I think here it's I'm surprised here that it's not just called Mike's. It seems like that's what it should be, but I probably will go check out a Jersey Mike's. Why the hell not?
Might as well. It's the birthplace.
Chat, tell me what the local New Jersey cuisine is, and then tell me roughly how many jug handles I will have to endure to get there. This is the only state I've ever been in where you have to drive 2 miles to go a half mile.
They do the same thing in Boston. What are you talking about?
I've never been to Boston.
Oh, well, yeah, the jug handle thing is depending on the state, but I believe the official food of New Jersey is stromboli. So you have that.
Oh, all right, I'll go get some stromboli tonight.
I'm making that up. I have no idea about New Jersy.
See, I would believe it.
Congratulations to Aaron. We will talk a little bit more about Kneel Before Doomface before you walk away, but there is a link in the video description. If you weren't able to make it to the live kickoff show and you're interested in the campaign, link in the video description. All kinds of tiers. If you're digital only, like you're overseas and you can't afford the shipping, I completely get you there, but you can get awesome stuff. Like you can have yourself drawn into the book, which I think would be very exciting for people.
That's right. You can actually kneel before Doomface in the book. You could be destroyed by Doomface. You could be assaulted by a supervillain. You could be canceled by the Social Justice League. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. We've also got returning Dylan from New Zealand. You took a month off from America. You wanted to skip, I guess, the election or something.
No, I was here for the election. I was just gone for a couple weeks. Yeah, I got back just right at the end of October. So I was here for that. But yeah, I went to New Zealand for a few weeks. Got to see the Shire, see some of Middle Earth. It was awesome.
Very nice. But you saw no yaks.
No yaks. Tons of sheep and cows. An insane amount. But no yaks.
Beautiful rolling green hills, right?
Yep, endless.
Yeah. So I lived in England for a while, and I ended up going to Scotland for they call it Hogmanay, but it's New Year's Eve. That's their big celebration. And as soon as you leave England and go to Scotland, all of a sudden everything is green and rolling hills instead of being flat and gray like England. I was like, there's a reason it's another country.
Yeah, I had one American moment where when we were taking the shuttle to the from the airport to where we were renting our car, and the guy's like, "Oh, there's room in the front seat. Go take the front seat." I went over to where the front seat is in America, and
you were going to drive.
Steering wheel. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh," and then everyone was just laughing and just went, "Ha, American." I was like, "Oh, well."
I rented a car when I was in Ireland because we went up to Dublin, but then we were going down to Cork because I wanted to Kiss the Blarney Stone, and Cork's a really cool city. And they don't really let you rent like automatics in Europe. You have to rent a manual. So I was having to shift left-handed. It turns out that was very difficult.
Yeah, that sucks.
Because I had my car there for when I was at home, but obviously we flew in there.
Yeah, my brother did all the driving, so I didn't have to worry about anything, which is nice. But he thankfully didn't have any trouble like being on the other side of the road. But we did run into another American who's talking about how he almost ran straight into another car because he's like, I'm driving. I was like, this asshole's on the wrong side of the road. It's like, oh wait, I'm on the wrong side of the road. It's like, man, that.
Very nice. So you recharged the batteries, had a good time?
Yeah, it was great. It's really fun.
Read some good comic books while you were there? Or you just leave in the back?
Yeah, I didn't really. Well, I did read some. I had some digital stuff. I finally read some of World's Finest because I never read any of that. And that was basically it. And then I read some good comics when I got back. I had a fat stack waiting for me, so that was nice.
Like the old school World's Finest, or who's typing?
I am.
Can you mute?
Yes, sorry.
The Mark Waid's World's Finest. Yeah, because when I looked at the Kindle store, it was like $2. It was like super cheap, and I hadn't read any of Mark Waid's World's Finest. I was like, I'll finally read some of this. So I read some of that on the plane.
So I've been hearing this debate lately, and I was listening to this conversation, and I wanted to get your input, because you're a younger guy. You probably have a different point of view on things than I do, about how the world works and stuff. But people were talking about their favorite candy bar, Dylan. And someone brought up a Rolo. Is a Rolo a candy bar? Because I consider it like a candy totem.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not a candy bar, no.
Isn't that a weird?
Who would even say Rolo though? Anyways, even if it is a candy bar, like even if you consider it, why would you? That's not top tier.
Rolo has caramel in it, which automatically puts it towards the front of the line. But the chocolate itself is weird and kind of squeaky.
Yeah,
that's the only problem with the Rolo.
If you left it in the hot sun just long enough to where it formed a bar, then is it considered a candy bar?
You have to reshape it.
Sticks together, yeah. Like, or if it's like in the package, you're just doing this, you're massaging it until it is in bar form.
You're getting mellow at that point, right?
Yeah, in the summer, it's a bar. Yeah.
But I mean, are Rolos like bonbons? Are they a chocolate totem? What are they, Aaron?
Oh, I like chocolate totem. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, you stack it up. You got, you know what I mean?
It's good for sharing.
Well, if Rolo is a chocolate totem, what is a peanut butter cup?
I think that's a candy bar. You get too many candy bars.
No, have you guys?
No, it can't be a candy bar.
It's in the name what it is.
Yeah, it's a peanut butter cup.
Have you guys ever seen the comic strip where like the genie appears and he's like, okay, there's just a couple of rules. There's like one rule, or two rules. You can't wish for anybody to die, and you can't wish for more wishes. And then he goes like, what's your wish? And the guy goes, I want my peanut butter cups to moan when I take their little paper panties off. And the genie goes, okay, there are 3 rules.
Now you bring up sharing. I know in theory you can share a Kit Kat. You could share it with 3 other people. You break it into 4 parts. Obviously, a Twix is pre-broken, and you get too many candy bars in that one. But does anybody actually share them?
I mean, I'm sure somebody does. The problem with Twix is then people that you get into a big argument over who gets the right one and who gets the left one. I remember when Twix thought we were super invested in that commercial. In that idea, they thought we were really into it, and nobody in the public was. We were just like, this is the dumbest campaign ever. But
nobody shares it. It's you just keep it for yourself, right? And after you put them in the freezer, because Twix are always better in the freezer.
I've got a chocolate covered Payday in the refrigerator, and I don't generally eat sugar, but I was like, wait a minute, a chocolate covered Payday?
Way back. Did you get that from the 80s?
No, this is like something that you can find at Walmart right now.
Because a chocolate covered Payday is amazing because the peanut in a Payday is so salty, mixed with the chocolate. Obviously, you get the weird caramelly thing in the middle of a Payday. That's a rare find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's chilling in the fridge right now. I don't know if I'm going to eat it, but I definitely bought it.
So Dope Comic says his favorite is a Snickers. My favorite is 100 Grand. Dylan, you seem like an Almond Joy guy.
No, I hate Almond Joy. Almond Joy. No, I gotta agree with the chat there. Snickers is my favorite. Snickers, best candy bar.
Man, Gabe's a Thin Mint guy or a Junior Mint. Do something gross.
He's
still muted.
So good.
I'm down for anything that has chocolate in it. I mean, take your pick. I love Thin Mints. I love Chunkies.
What about
Remember
a fucking
Chunkies?
Spore bar? Tell me you like a
Chunkies
Spore
with
bar.
raisins.
Love Chunkies. Definitely love Almond Joy because I'm a big coconut guy. So I love coconut. Stop making the face, you
coconut.
Sorry, I just can't handle coconut.
I love coconut.
Gabe's like, I like to take a coconut bar and I like to wrap it in black licorice, cover it in
black licorice. I won't do. I won't do black licorice.
Cover it in good and plenties and just eat the whole thing all at once.
Anything that either black licorice or anything that tastes like root beer, those I stay away from. I don't like root beer. So
you don't like the little mini root beer, like
not the root beer barrels, not the barrels.
Those are great.
Give me a barrel.
Pass.
It's like a butterscotch on steroids.
Why do I want candy that tastes like cough syrup?
Why wouldn't you?
Are we going to be doing that on the next Patreon, Wes? Is it going to be the top 10 candy bars of the 80s, and we're going to have to go through and delineate which ones are S tier and which ones are?
I just thought of something. So I'm going to help Aaron out here. I just thought of something. If we can get to goal and maybe the next stretch as a prize for the audience, I will eat a handful of root beer barrels because I hate them. So if you want to put me through some pain and suffering, I'll do that as a reward for the audience if they can get to like the let's say the first stretch goal.
That is a generous offer. I will eat a handful of candy corn if we get to the first stretch goal on this stream.
Candy corn's delicious. It's not a
I hate candy corn. Every year I convince myself that I haven't given it a fair shake, and then I'll have a couple and I'm like, nope, and spit it right back out.
Who doesn't like eating candy that tastes like buttery sweet wax? Come on.
It's like wax lips, but more buttery.
Wax lips.
Yul, what's your favorite candy bar?
Marathon bar, of course. Marathon bar. They don't make those anymore. Yeah, you gotta look that one up. Probably Mars bar. There's no better candy bar.
A Mars bar is just a really shitty version of a Snickers.
It's better than a Snickers, but Snickers.
No, it doesn't have peanuts.
What do you mean Mars bar doesn't have peanuts? It has peanuts.
What's the difference? Oh, the Mars bar has like the weird nuggety thing, right?
Yeah, the white nougat has a white nougat.
Yeah, it sucks compared to what the Snickers has with the peanuts.
Well, we can fight about it later.
Why do it later? You were absolutely wrong.
No, it's fine. It's a guy I used to work with.
Like Century more than Superman. It's like you like the shitty version.
That's stupid. You really only like Marvel if you say something like that. No, this guy I used to work with in the gas station back in the day. He said he would always go. He would smoke in the little booth we were in. Well, we both did smoke cigarettes. And he had this really deep voice, and we listened. Well, we were watching the OJ trial at that time, so it places me. And we would listen to music, and he would always like anytime a Frank Sinatra song came on, he was like, singing it. And he kind of had a pretty good voice. But one of the things he would say is Mars bar, best damn candy bar in the world, and that's just the thing.
There is an opinion, and I think that can bring us all together from Subhuman 84, the York peppermint patty. No, thank you. Never.
Read there.
What are you talking about?
No.
If you can eat it, those are good. Those are not bad at all. They're not bad at all.
That's the
When you
foundation
get
of
the
our
mixed
society.
bag,
On a
it's-
hill in the winter.
When you get the mixed bag of candy in your house, those are all the last pieces. No one touches them until it's the last resort.
The York peppermint patty fills the gap when you need both a candy fix and you want to freshen your breath. That's what, and then you get, but you do get that inhale afterwards where you go, that feels really good.
Like you're smoking menthols.
Yeah.
All right, Sparrow. What's your favorite candy? Apparently, I've upset Yul.
Oh, see, like Yul has bailed on us. He's like, fuck these candy communists.
Rage quit. Rage quit. There he is.
Audio.
So what's my favorite candy bar? I think it's going to be that chocolate payday. I think that's going to be my new top tier favorite because I already love paydays. So you cover it in chocolate. It's got to be better, right?
You've never had one?
I've not had one.
I remember having them as a kid, and it was like, it's amazing.
See, when I saw this, I thought, how is this? Like, I didn't know it had ever existed. So I was like, how has no one thought of this before? The only thing that would be better if you had like some salty bacon on it too. Just make it extra. The peanuts are salty, the bacon is salty, the chocolate is sweet. Sounds amazing. Sounds like something you'd get at a carnival, and they would make it like the bread of a sandwich.
Mine goes 100 grand. Then it goes whatchamacallit and Snickers. Top 3.
These are all good choices.
Yes,
absolutely. So who else? We got Gabe from Comical Opinions returning. How you doing, Gabe?
fantastic. How are
Suscabe in
you?
the house.
Suscabe. Oh man, I got so much heat. You thought I got giving Predator 9 out of 10. You would not believe the internal chat heat I got for giving a decent score to Ultimates number 6. Wow. Wow. I was not expecting the backlash on that one. Yeah, it's stupid fun, but it's fun. So, but you know what? Sue me. That's the way it works. Just reviews.
It's the
writing
best
them.
issue of Ultimate so far. I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5 or 10, maybe.
It's definitely the best one. Saying much because the bar is all the way down here, but at the least it's dumb fun if you want to say it that way. So I gave it a decent score, and there we go. So reviews, recording more reviews. YouTube channel's growing, obviously, so we're kind of creeping up on that 1,000 mark. So we're getting there. Just nothing at all interesting happened this week, so it's tough to find anything to get excited about because this was a completely bland, uninteresting, not at all distracting week for anybody. But hey, you just gotta roll with it, and just happy to talk about DC now establishing some sort of dominance over Marvel, and I'm sure that's going to stick for a very long time, right, Uel?
It hasn't even started. We just recorded a video with Jim about that. It'll be up on the channel tomorrow.
I don't listen to anything Jim says. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
Jim's your boss.
What's that got to do with anything? I mean, honestly,
he's probably listening
Gabe,
right now. He's going to
Mark
get here.
Waid, pretty much the same
Yeah.
person, right?
Mark Waid, Jim, they're all the same. What difference does it make?
And then last but not least, we still have Uel Carter. Some people are asking about Doc. I accidentally overbooked the show because Uel said he couldn't make it. And then he's like, hey, I do have time. And I was like, Doc's not going to read Absolute Superman anyway. So Doc got the day off. So he's sleeping in with his girlfriend. So we got Uel Carter in the house. How you doing, Uel?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I was like, oh man, I didn't think I could make it. Things happen. But I really did want to get into this and talk about probably Mark Waid today. So I know you're not talked out enough about that. So I'm like, this needs to be talked about a little bit more. And I feel like I need to get in on this one.
Man, so you want me to move it up to the second top?
I don't know.
Above the new Star Wars trilogy?
Yes, because what do we have to say about the new Star Wars trilogy?
I wanted to hear Dylan cry. Dylan still has hope for Star Wars.
I don't know about
that. Does Simon Kinberg? Let me put it this way: Rob Liefeld was singing Simon Kinberg's praises. So what does that tell you?
Well, they're friends. They're friends.
All their
That's why
plans.
he's
It's
doing
the
that.
best one they've had yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is the best. I do know that Simon Kinberg is somebody though who is famous for saying that continuity is the hobgoblin of small minds. So I don't have a lot of faith in anything that gets put together.
That's good in this case. Maybe like ignore the last trilogy we got.
No, you're getting Rey as the Obi-Wan figure in this trilogy.
I read
Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
It's
Apparently
the
they
big
have like
rumor.
15 different roles for her.
So does that mean that Charmin Obaid Chinoy's film is dead, or that they're just going to put her on the first film in this trilogy?
They can't
Assuming it
have
happens, because none of these happen.
The same exact character, like the same exact reason. So,
Well, how far do it?
Going to be in 4 movies. So.
How far into a corporate conspiracy do you want to get? Because people are talking about how they're sort of treading water until they figure out what's going on. I mean, whether or not to let Catherine Kennedy hit the bricks, and then they'll make changes to the slate that she laid out, and blah, 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 blah. And everybody's conjecturing and talking, but nobody's saying anything that's accurate or true. So your guess is as good as mine. All I know is you need to kneel before Doomface, chat. So please give a +1 and a thumbs up to Aaron for kneel before Doomface before it's gone, because you'll never get another opportunity like this again. Thank you.
Man, I'm going to stop calling Gabe sus if he keeps this up. It's warming my heart right now.
Well, how about this? Are you gonna watch Skeleton Crew? Are you gonna watch Skeleton Crew?
God, no. And Wes can't make me.
So obviously you got the Fantastic Comics YouTube channel. Sounds like you're gonna have Aaron on to talk about some comic books and maybe Kneel Before Doomface on Tuesday. Anything else anybody should know about?
Well, no, that's the most important thing. Tuesdays at 8, I have a YouTube channel. You can watch it afterwards. I don't usually take the videos down. Isn't StreamYard raising their prices? Have you noticed that, Wes?
Yes.
I think I'm changing.
You're going. you're moving.
I think I'm moving to something else. But I'll still have StreamYard for that. Plenty of videos and Aaron Sparrow this live this Tuesday at 8.
That's right. That's right.
You get to,
good. And we will have Jim here sometime soon. I know he's taking care of some personal business. He and I already recorded a video and then a review of Negasonic Teenage Warhead. That was a comic book.
That?
There's no way that was good, right? There's no way that was good.
You are correct.
Do you think
I didn't actually read it, but then Sully said it was bad. We're like, if Sully says it's bad, it might be unreadable. So we went and checked it out. Turns out it was.
Who was the writer on that?
Andrew Wheeler.
Okay, not familiar with. I can't name a single thing that Andrew Wheeler's ever done.
He was the EIC of Comics Alliance.
Oh, there you go. That's all we need to know.
Wow.
So let's get into some shout outs for the Patreons returning to the channel. Supporting us on Patreon is Skeets, aka Baja Cat, protector of the Ashland. Thank you very much for supporting us. We've also got Dominic Mason returning, Stoneheart himself, the protector of Heroes Harbor. And finally, also returning to support us on Think Critical Patreon is Carlitos Figueroa, Fuego Force himself, the protector of Blazeburg. If you support us on Think Critical Patreon, you get awesome podcasts, exclusive videos, all that stuff, and you get a superhero name, you get a city protect, and all that good stuff. There's a link in the video description if you would like to do that. And we've already got some people chiming in. Odin 87, will this panel kneel before Doomface? Congrats, Aaron. Looking forward to the Rockefeller cover plus the memoir, the memoirs. I had it right the first time. Mm-hmm. Will the aficionados appear in Doomface? Have a great weekend.
The aficionados do appear in Doomface.
Oh,
they have not seen any of it yet.
Comic book appearance. I was in Black Ops from Tim Lim.
This is going to be good. I got to put Tim Lim in there too because not everybody knows this, but the initial character designs were for Doomface himself were done by Tim Lim.
Oh, very nice. You should get Common America in there too. That's a great character.
Oh, if Tim ever hit me up and was like, "We want to do a Common America crossover," I would be all for it because I love that book.
Oh, nice. All right, are you ready to kneel before Doomface, Uel? You seem like you're ready to kneel.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Sure. Why not? I've done some kneeling, I guess.
I already kneeled before Doomface. He took my channel up.
Well, we're not going to go that far.
Calvin says, sorry for being political. It didn't surprise me that the tinfoil hat people like Mark Waid and so many others reacted that way.
I mean, I understand people are upset when their candidates lose, I get it. But, it's this whole hysteria that everything's the end of the world. You got generally no party holds the White House for more than 12 years, in a row. And a lot of times it's less than that. So,
well, and the
pendulum swings
going on for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, they got everybody worked up and everybody's hysterical and recording themselves screaming like lunatics into their phones, which I don't understand at all. But I love all the guys that are recutting it to music and making hardcore metal videos out of it. It's pretty great.
So I was live last Tuesday when it was going on, and I kind of just had a conversation about things, what 2016 was like as a store owner. When everybody that's, my area is super blue, obviously, and they were, holy shit. So if you want to find out about that, I would go look at that also. But, oof, those were the days, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think that part of the thing that I won't say disturbs me, but just disappoints me is if I look at the founding fathers of the big two, the folks like Jack Kirby and Ditko and Stan. If they were in this present day and they saw, I would be willing to bet that Jack Kirby would pop Mark Waid in the mouth. Because he would say, I didn't go to war, I didn't go to the military, I didn't turn out to be a scrappy SOB for you to act like a whiny baby. And to take over the comic that I made, that I gave my heart and soul to.
Yeah, I don't think that you could throw a big diaper baby tantrum in Jack Kirby's presence and not get socked in the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, just so from a legacy and a generational perspective, in a lot of ways, when I see things like that, it feels like that's why you get that sense that we feel like we're going backwards, that we're not getting better, we're getting worse, but we're getting worse because the people who are making these statements are just acting. They're not learning from the past, and they're not getting better because of it. They're just regressing to children.
No, it's TikTok. It's ruining everything. Mr. Frey, I'm taking the cue from the D's and getting comics based on joy. Enter John, pure joy. Mark Waid, not joy. Ghost Machine, joy, easy peasy.
Oh, Adam, you need to make some shirts like that just say Mark Waid is not joy. Like, remember the Mark Waid is evil t-shirts that we all had at Boom Studios the time Irredeemable was coming out, and then they actually thought they could market those and sell them in diamond, and they sold like 3 to the general public. That's what we need just shirts that say Mark Waid is not joy.
Man, I bet we could sell more than 3 Gabe is sus shirts.
I'll probably buy 2 of them.
I would actually. You should do that, Gabe. You should walk around at conventions with a shirt that says "Gabe is sus." I think people would love it.
It's probably the only way I'd get recognized.
Ghost Machine is awesome.
Yes,
I'm hearing it's not getting enough pub. People aren't even aware of it. Is that true?
Not in my store.
Because you've been pimping it out.
Well, I mean, so I read Geiger when it first came out, when it was Mad Ghost, before he had his imprint. And I like that a lot, but I really haven't read any of these books. I still have like reprints of some of the number ones, and I still haven't read them, like Red Coat and Rook. Rook is the best. I think it's mostly based on the art. People do like Jeff Johns, but these do not at all sell like Jeff Johns comic books used to. So, like if this was a DC thing, it's like I always say, superheroes are great, but if you don't have a chance of running into Spidey or Superman, then, you have how long is that shelf life going to last? Invincible couldn't go on forever either. And even though it did well, it wasn't like a really great selling book, even though a lot of people love it. So I think Ghost Machine's getting... Like I said, in my store, it's doing really well. The Rook is the best one. I think we're going to see some of these other titles that are coming out that aren't going to be Jeff Johns written. They're not going to be as good, but they're still going to have quality people. Francis Manipul's doing a book. He's one of my faves. But again, I don't know how that's going to sell. But Geiger's doing well. Redcoat's doing well. I'm missing one. Rook is doing really great.
You got
nice, Mike. Mike Ortego, I was always told that the Green Arrow, Green Lantern run was kind of preachy, but Wes and Aaron seem to like it. Would you recommend it?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Hard Traveling Heroes is fantastic. And, you could say that it's preachy, but compared to today, I mean, it seemed preachy back in the day because, it was just so unlike anything that was out there. Now, with every book being a thinly veiled political screed by, its lunatic writer, it's actually quite charming and seems really subtle. And I think that it is. I think it was done in a very deft way where, you had 2 characters who had 2 opposing points, 2 opposing worldviews, but they were still able to be friends and they would have frank and open discussions. And it was a lot like, Ann Nescenti's Daredevil run. She had a lot of her politics in that book, and you could tell which way she leaned, but she would always do like an exploration of both sides. You could tell that she was someone who was interested in looking even at her own views and kind of assessing them constantly and reevaluating them based on new information. So I think that's you can have books that are political, but I think the very best ones are when you have that sort of mindset. You have to be a person who goes in and thinks to yourself, well, I don't know every damn thing. I have some ideas and I have some values and I have some, beliefs, and here they are. But you have to be open-minded enough to, have other people come in and tell you what their beliefs are and how they arrived at those conclusions and be able to assess whether or not those are valid to you.
You support getting Hard Traveling Heroes, correct?
Yeah, I think it's a top book for sure. If you have a bookshelf of superhero comics and you think they have merit, if you don't have Green Arrow, Green Lantern on it, it's not. That's pretty much how it goes.
Bam. Andres Hernandez, will Alfred ever come back? I have been told to expect Alfred to come back during Hush 2.
How? What? When normal
I'm
people
told.
come back from the dead, that's the dumbest thing. I'm sorry.
I was
But
told.
what if it?
thing.
He will never have been dead.
What if it's Alfred from Absolute Batman? What if he crosses over into the main Earth?
There you go. There
Jim,
you
you
go.
heard the same thing?
Yep, I heard the same
Welcome
thing.
to the channel, Jim. We missed you.
Hi. I was in the chat for a little as I was waiting in line. It's the worst.
Without Doc's favorite Bobby Ewing moment, how are you going to bring Alfred back?
I just told you, Lazarus Pit.
No,
Ugh, Jesus. Haven't those been destroyed by now, Dylan?
Time
they're a
machine.
little wonky.
They are a little
Do
wonky now.
anything. Yeah.
No, we got Lazarus resin now. Remember?
If we can have Superman
manufactured.
fly around the world backwards to make it go back in time and pick up Alfred
no
and bring him back
pants
to the
on.
normal time.
I mean, actually, I wish that we could have Superman fly around the world and take the whole DC universe back in time before a lot of these disastrous books came out and a lot of these disastrous character changes.
So that's what I've been told. Expect it to be happening very, very soon within the next year. Lade Kraber, I got Absolute Edition Planetary this week. So big and heavy. Do you guys like the big collection types, Omnis, Absolutes, etc.? Seems heavy to read.
You got to lay on the floor like a little kid. You got to lay on the floor like a
you
little
need
kid with it on the.
podium to put it on. To hold the weight.
Like a library, little podium
Yes.
thing? Yeah. They're not good in the bathroom. That's for damn sure.
My big problem with the collections is you lose stuff in the margins because you can only open them up so far. You know what I mean? And that's what annoys me about them. Otherwise, I think they're great because you get so much good stuff in one package. But they are very heavy. You could murder somebody with a book like that.
I don't know if we talked about it last week, but DC and Marvel put their Versus omnibus out. Highly recommend you to get that right now because it will go out of print and it's going to be a long time before you see it again.
Still out? Yeah. What do you think, Dylan? You're the younger generation. Are you a big collection guy?
I love the Absolute Editions. Those are like the gigantic versions where you get the big art. I love the Absolute Editions. I think they're great. I agree. Omnis can be a pain in the ass to read, but I love Absolute Editions. That's like my favorite for anything. Anytime DC comes out with a new one, I freaking get an Absolute Edition. I love it. I think it's like the
So
best
you got
way
Absolute
to read.
Swamp Thing?
I don't have that yet, but I have a lot of them. I don't have
I
every
did, but
Absolute.
it's like an $85 book. It's
Yeah, that's the
hard
thing.
to pull the
It's
trigger.
got moss on the outside. It's
I
like
know, but it's $85.
it's so
It's like,
good.
I got
It's
3
so
kids.
worth that one.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
Especially
diaper money.
when a new one comes out, like it almost always becomes cheaper like 6 months to a year later. So it's hard to like resist and wait and buy it after. But
Do not wait on the DC versus Marvel book. It will not be available.
No, get that. Get that. Highly recommended.
Lane also says the ghost of California have driven Aaron mad. He just is typing Heather Ontos makes a sparrow on Angry Comic Industry Pro over and over.
You know what's funny is I don't think about Heather Ontos at all, really, until she says something dumb or we talk about her on the channel. She isn't like a complete non-entity to me, and I think that I mean that's what happens when you work at IDW, especially as just right now in its current state. So no, I don't really think about her at all.
Yeah, Kalichi Oki won an end to a beautiful week. America gave a resounding no to the left. It shut Mark Hamill up. Mark Waid can't write comics no more, and Kelly Sue DeConnick is having a meltdown. The tide has turned.
Oh, I missed the Kelly Sue DeConnick meltdown. I'll have to go follow
Everyone's
up on
having a
that.
meltdown. It's all very predictable kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a way. A statement was made, and people are responding kind of the way you would anticipate with the way the ramifications of the election were built up to where the world is going to end if this doesn't go your way, type of thing.
Well, I mean, it already ended in 2016 through 2020, right? Like it already ended that time. So we're back again.
Well, I heard World War III was coming. Oh, never mind. That's something else.
Yeah, I'm still dead from net neutrality. So I mean, I don't know what to say.
Oh my God, net neutrality.
We're all going to be dead in the streets, Uel. It's tragic.
The internet's going away. None of this is going to happen.
It's almost like media benefits from hyping people up and keeping you, feeling like you're doomed, so that you stay tuned into what they're lying to you about.
Yeah, and you click on all the articles when you're that built up with anxiety and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Go outside, like it's beautiful outside. Like nothing's really going to change. Bill Burr said it the first time Trump was elected, as he said, did Obama ever come over to your house and make you a sandwich? Did he ever come over and put a sandwich on your table? No, you did that. You went to work. You worked for your family. You earned your money.
You
and
opened
you
a
provided.
comic store.
Yeah, you know, it's guys, it's going to be okay.
You know, all these crazy reactions are what happens is when you don't go outside and touch grass.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my thing, and Dylan probably won't even be able to empathize with me on this one. I like my life better when I didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
And when I left the house, nobody could find me or get a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. You know, we used to, when we were kids, we used to go outside. We had no keys, no ID, no money, no phone. We would disappear all day long.
It was in a rock that was hidden somewhere around the front door.
That's right. That's right. But you would run off with your friends and go off into the wilderness or down to the creek or, you know, the riverbed.
25 with no cell phone.
Oh, that was still good. Except for when like you had to meet somebody, you're like, hey, we're gonna meet at the movies at this time, and then you're standing there waiting for them, and they're not there. Yeah, they're not there, and you have no way to reach them, and they have no way to reach you, and you're like, maybe they're dead.
Do you remember picking up the phone just to make sure the dial tone actually worked?
Yeah.
You never did that once?
Do you remember being able to slam the phone down?
I remember being able to drive anywhere without using a phone, just looking at a map or just knowing how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I bet Mark Waid slammed phones.
Oh, I've heard. Yeah, it's like, do you think how many times do you think he's thrown his cell phone across the room in absence of being able to just slam a phone and beat it against the floor?
That
like
was just when he lost at Marble Snap.
Dylan probably doesn't remember a day without a cell phone being around, right?
Landline? No, when I was a kid, we had a landline. Didn't have a phone till I got a job to buy my own. So, yeah, I had plenty of years. But as an adult, no days without a phone as an adult.
Much better that way. James Hannafin, as one of the few fans of the Bloodlines heroes, I was stoked to see them in Green Arrow Annual as a possible future story. Except 4 of the 6 Bloodline characters are dead in the splash page. I hate DC editorial.
Yeah, that was just showing the past. That wasn't really showing a future deal. That was him saying what he did already. So that's why they were alive.
In fairness, Hitman was a Bloodlines. Tommy Monahan was a Bloodlines character, and he was dead long before this annual.
I didn't read the annual because Chris Condon's the new writer on that one, and I was like, "Oh, that's Josh Williamson." I was like, "I already read his Green Arrow Red."
This was
it was a half and half.
I thought this was much better
this was
than the rest of his run.
Oh,
I thought this was one of the better issues of Williamson's run.
I think because it kind of went back to some old school stuff, and he wasn't doing nonsense of going through time.
Yeah,
it felt like a love letter type deal that people do at the end of runs and things like that. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I wasn't a big fan of Williamson's run.
Yeah, so I'm sorry you were let down, but you should hate DC editorial for a lot of reasons. You just have another one. Comics Odyssey, your nation made a statement against the excesses of the left. What are the chances we'll see conservative writers back at the big 5 publishers?
0.
Well,
0.
No, that's not true.
Wait a second, they're not already there?
They're already there. I know
they just can't. They just can't talk about it or reveal that they're conservative. Believe it or not, there are a lot of. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. We just talked about a Ghost Machine, right?
Are they? See, I don't know. I don't even know.
I don't know either. I'm just joking.
I think Jason Fabok is conservative, but I think he's a conservative Christian. But that's all that I know.
But I think he's Canadian also, so who cares?
You guys are always trying to get me in trouble with the Canadians, but
just personally, I don't care if every single one, artist and or writer, is conservative or liberal or leftist or whatever you want to call it. I just don't want to be able to pick it out when I read the comic and know for sure that's what they're trying to tell me.
Yeah,
I want the characters to be authentic to who the character is, not a mouthpiece for who the writer is. Now I know there's always going to be some bias that soaks in, and that's unavoidable because we're human beings and that's the way it works. But I don't want to read Batman and say, what the heck? Why is Batman talking like an Antifa rioter that is trying to tell people that they have insurance? So why are they worried about their store burning down? That's a Gary with a dig right there. I don't want to get a sense of the writer's politics from a character that is no way reflective of who that writer is. The characters need to be authentic, and I don't care if they're conservative or liberal or leftist or whatever, as long as the characters remain true to who they are.
And I just want them to treat their customers well.
Yeah. Just to answer the question though, conservative writers do work at all the big 5 publishers. Will they be able to be open about it and express their political views without fear of reprisals? Probably not. And when I say reprisals, not from the company so much, but probably from the editors and their coworkers. This is kind of the weird divide that we have right now, unfortunately. Federico de la Casa, hey guys, waiting for Aaron's comic in May. Do you think that after the Trump win, will be way worse than the big two trying to dunk on chuds?
I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to not, for people who don't want to go back, for people who keep saying we won't go back, let's hope they don't go back. Let's hope they don't go back to all of the things that alienated a huge chunk of the comic buying audience. I think Waid is obviously going to do what Waid's going to do. He's already said like the quality of my work is going to go down, which I think is always a great thing to say, for both your customers and your employers. Instead of just I quit, I can't do this anymore, saying like I'm still going to do it, but it's going to get really bad.
There's nothing wrong with a story that's ripped from today's headlines. That's the beauty of comics, is that they can respond in media faster than other things like television and but you don't have to go crazy. And the thing that we liked about Hard Traveling Heroes, Chuck Dixon comics, you get Meg Barron, you usually would get, I mean, personally, I'm not a big Punisher fan, but you'd still get, other points of view within the same stories. And that's just what we want, really.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but I think that's a style of writing that's gone away in comics a long time ago also. So, there's a few people that actually tell 1 and 2 part stories, but that's not really common these days overall. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of factors that make these shitty stories occur.
Grabbing onto the super chat, I would love to see an explicit internal memo policy, whatever you want to call it, that says we will absolutely not do anything that is dunking on the chuds. I think that's anti-consumer. I think that's anti-reader. I think that's anti-fan. And I want to see every publisher, regardless of big two or the smaller ones, get back to a reader first priority mindset. If you have creators out there that are just trying to get, I'm going to pick on Nick Lowe because that's easy to pick on. When Nick Lowe gets onto his things about, fans don't really want MJ and Peter back together. That's absolute nonsense. Everybody knows it. And in some cases, if you read the ASM number 60, those short stories and the letters in the back feel like they're a little bit spiteful, like they're trying to make a point. I want to see that abolished wholesale.
Very nice. Andres Hernandez. Hey, Aaron, do you know the story of Mark Grunwald's ashes on Squadron Supreme? Would you ever put your ashes on a comic like Kneel Before Doomface?
I own the edition of Squadron Supreme that is printed with Mark Grunwald's ashes. So yes, I am aware of that. Grunwald, obviously a creator I think that is revered, but still doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Would I ever put my ashes on a comic like Kneel Before Doomface? Sure. If I die and there's a commemorative edition put out, why the hell not? I don't whatever happens to this after I go, this is just the shell. The nut will be gone. So, I don't really care what happens to my body after that point. Donate it to science.
There might be kids and wife. They can do what they want.
There might be a tier for Aaron's ashes afterwards. So, you might.
Hey, maybe we can do that. What I actually want done with my corpse is I want all of you guys to come to my funeral.
Style?
No. Here's what I want to do. You guys come to my funeral, and you're sitting there, and you're talking amongst yourselves and reminiscing about what an a-hole I was, and then you look and you see that in the front row, Bruce Campbell is sitting there, and you're like, "What the hell is Bruce Campbell doing here? Did Aaron know Bruce Campbell?" And then halfway through the ceremony, my body is pulled out on piano wire, and you get a voiceover of me saying, "You shall never possess the Necronomicon." Bruce Campbell jumps up, takes his chainsaw, lops my head off. It rolls down the aisle. He grabs the hottest girl out of the front row, kisses her full on the mouth after saying "Hail to the King," and everybody leaves going, "Sparrow had the best funeral ever." That's my dream.
That's the extra pages you're going to get if we meet that tier, by the way.
That's stretch goal number 69.
Dave's going to eat root beer barrels, and we're going to get the funeral of the cinch.
You got to make that happen now. Buddy.
That's right. No, that'd be fantastic.
I'm regretting it. So,
do you know how many female friends I have that are volunteering to sit in the front row just on the off chance that they might be the one that's grabbed and kissed by Bruce Campbell?
Well, I'm volunteering. I can tell you that.
Hail to the King, baby.
Baptist 702, Mark Waid and SJWs are a symptom of an ideology that's infected Western culture for decades. You need to destroy the ideology and rebuild classical beliefs in every sphere in order to change this. Maybe.
I mean, it just definitely seems like in the last decade, it's become super prevalent.
Yeah, whenever somebody has power, they start swinging things to one side, in their favor. And inevitably, they go too far, and then it has to go back. When you gave too much power to the right, it goes too far to the right, and then you have to kind of bring it back. I think the meltdowns aren't so much a symptom of an ideology. I think it's a symptom of accountability, to where you've fully invested so much of your emotional state into something that you can't control, and you're allowing yourself to be manipulated and think the entire world is going to end, where that's clearly not what's going to happen. You're not really thinking about things from a logical perspective. You've gone full on emotion, and I think Spock would have a big time problem with that. It's time to think logically about these things.
Sounds like
Spock is written by who? Because if it's a current IDW book, Spock will not be Spock. He'll be whatever it is that the writer wants him to be.
What are you saying, Jim?
I said it sounds like the Snyder Cut people. I thought you were talking about.
Ooh, I like that.
Snyder cutters are worse than fucking the bikers in the biker shorts.
Yeah,
Snyder cutters are the worst.
My one buddy does a lot of biking, and he wanted me to go with him, so he had this outfit for me. I'm like, I'm not wearing those shorts. I'm not doing it.
Smugglers.
I regretted it later, because those shorts also have a lot of padding, but I still had.
Well, they're also slimming.
At my pride. I ended up.
It's like wearing Spanx for a guy, Jim. It'll hold all that stuff in for you.
I ended up finally getting like these like khaki short type things that were like undercover bike shorts. I wore those, but it's still.
It's like when my wife wears a skirt, but there's like shorts underneath it because she doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
She's hiding.
Well, who's worse? Who's worse, Snyder Bros or shippers?
Oh, shippers. Yeah, shippers are the worst.
Very nice. Sebastian Howard asked, Wes, why do you do this so early in the morning? That is a very, very good and real question. For one, there's one simple answer. I'm in the Philippines. It is almost midnight here. Almost all my guests and the people that I communicate with on the channel, do podcasts with, are in the U.S. So I work at night, and then they obviously work during the day. And this is the time that actually makes sense for all of our schedules to work out at the end. And this was the time when I started my channel with the least likely noticed, Umbrella Guy, Yellow Flash, or EVS stream, because they would just stream every day at odd times. And I just had to plant my flag somewhere where they wouldn't take my entire audience every time I tried to go live. And this ended up being the time. And once you make an appointment television, you just kind of got to stick with your time slot. That's why it is.
I actually got to sleep in today since I'm on East Coast time. So, for me, it was a 10 o'clock show today, whereas normally it's a 7 a.m. show.
I think Dylan used to also just stream at all odd hours and steal my audience.
Yeah, when I used to stream a good bit, I would just stream randomly.
Yeah. These guys are totally unpredictable, and that does not work for my weird brain. Finally, we've got HH the boys from Sigma Comics. Shout out to the Thinking Critical team and Neil before Doomface. All caps when you spell his name. Get it on Kickstarter now. Calico with Mike Barron next week. Sign up now. And that is some absolutely huge news.
It reminds me in a lot of ways of Private American, if you think about it.
It does.
Absolutely.
But no, it's Mike Barron. Mike Barron going over and writing with HH. They're going to do some Here Comes Calico together. I'm super excited about it. That was a huge announcement.
And HH, I talked to him behind the scenes. We're friendly. And Mike Barron has actually been a mentor of his for several years now. So I think it's probably a dream come true for him, for them to finally work together. And that's absolutely awesome. Hopefully he got in there and was able to support Doomface. And certainly we'll be supporting Calico with Mike Barron next week. That's going to be awesome. Congratulations. And I hope you're enjoying a nice weekend off, sir. Oh, very good. So, Jim, we never got a proper introduction with you being here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you need to say to the peoples?
No.
What's your favorite candy bar?
My favorite.
Gabe said his favorite was a score bar. Tell me how weird that is.
Score bar.
That is a ball face lie.
Even the generic of a Heath.
I will not tolerate.
It's not even the real one. Seriously, I did while I was waiting. I did hear the question to Dylan, but I didn't hear the answer of if a Rolo was a candy bar. I
No,
did
it's not a
hear
candy
that.
bar. It's a
not.
candy totem, or perhaps even bonbons, maybe.
Yeah, it's a candy, but not a candy bar. Yeah, I'm actually lately I've been enjoying a Twix bar, which I never really liked as a kid.
Do you share those with the children? You have 3 boys living with
Really?
you, I believe.
No.
They
They
get
have
their
their
own
own
damn Twix
nonsense.
bar.
Yeah, really. They get to get their own.
Do they
candy,
share
even
their
though-
pizza with me? No.
Yeah, they don't. And I actually had to go and check on my son's dog a little bit ago, and I saw that he had some Reese's Pieces, so I grabbed some of those, and I'm sure he'll be pissed at that.
On
But
the DL.
again, not a candy bar though. But
No.
no, Twix is probably right now. At one point, I had mentioned on the show that a guy who lived next door to us was the guy who came up with the whatchamacallit bar, and we got to test those out.
I
when
love
was a
that.
kid. So I ate so many
So
of
good.
those at that point that I can't eat any
The
anymore.
peanut flavored crispy thing in there is just immaculate.
Yeah, it's good. But I do.
Do you freeze your Twix though? That's
I
the big
do.
question.
Yeah.
So do we.
I
Yeah.
do all the time.
Good way to do
Most of my candy, besides, I used to like Mounds bars as well. I hate Almond Joy. They can suck it. But I wouldn't freeze a Mounds bar, but most of the chocolate that I get,
Not with
I
that
can
weird
freeze.
coconut in
No,
there.
you can't have that in
Mounds
there.
don't.
Yeah. I what's a Kit Kats? I'll freeze. Most of the candy bars I get, I freeze.
I just realized nobody mentioned a Butterfinger.
Yeah,
No,
'cause
those
they
suck too.
suck.
Butterfingers are
What?
good, but they get stuck in your teeth, and it's
Butterfinger,
weird.
there's no reason why it's
This
as
group.
bad as it is. It has everything that's
This
good in
group.
it. They
The flavor is good, but there's a texture problem.
No, everything about it's bad.
I have
Butter-
don't get it all.
Butterfinger is
Can you
the
explain to this guy why Butterfinger is good?
And, the other thing is Almond Joy and Mounds. They got the best commercial jingle
Yeah.
or the
they're-
worst candy. That's another
Yeah.
one.
I mean, I should be
Butterfinger-
like an old guy. I love the Mary Janes and the all sorts. But yeah.
no. What about Abba Zabbas?
Abba Zabba.
Pull your fillings
Oh,
out of your
Abba
teeth.
Zabba.
Pull your
Those
teeth
fucking-
right out of your
Lights
jaw.
all over the fucking place. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't.
They are the no. I already dropped an F-bomb earlier.
Okay,
You're fine. I already broke that seal. No, Abba Zabbas are the family circus of candy bars.
Ooh,
I love the
Family
circus
Circus.
peanuts. Those are
That's the
other-
All right,
only
fellas.
one cartoon in the newspaper that I read, with one panel that I always read last.
It's just waiting there at the bottom of the page, just waiting to suck.
Oh, man, Family
All right,
Circus.
fellas, we probably should have started Candy Aficionados again, but I did want to give Jim the
I will
Florida
say
answer
though,
to
one
that.
last deal. Sully mentioned the Crunchy Bar from England. One of my favorites. I love those, but they're really tough. They're really sweet, but I do love those.
At least we're not testicle aficionados again this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan missed the wide
What I
set
miss?
testicle.
Yeah, Wes talking about his widely spaced testicles.
What weird.
But we're here to talk about Absolute Superman. Thank you to everyone for
Why?
everyone for supporting the channel. Congratulations to Aaron O'Neill before
That's still
Doomface.
there.
But we did get a big book. Who was it? Jason, Aaron, Rafa, Sandoval this week. And we know that Dylan, while being the youngest member of the aficionados, is also the Superman aficionado. What did you think about the new take on Krypton and Superman in the DC Absolute Universe?
I thought there were interesting concepts that a better writer could have executed well, and Jason Aaron executed poorly. I thought this comic sucked. I like Rafa Sandoval. I thought he did a pretty good job. There are some things in here that were just dumb as hell, though. Like I like the idea of Krypton being like this horrible classist place, and it's interesting that Superman's family was censored for their beliefs and what they said and what they spoke out against. But the idea of the Superman symbol not being the House of L anymore, instead being like every laborer wore it, all the janitors had it, everyone, so it's not unique to the House of L, I thought was pretty stupid, and also something that I thought like an 8-year-old would think is really deep. And that's something that Jason Aaron clearly thought was like the coolest thing ever, and thought this will really get him. I thought a lot of the book was really boring, like the back and forth between him and the Brazilian miner and just waiting for something to happen. I hate the pushing of Peacemaker constantly. I don't care about Peacemaker. Peacemaker and Absolute showing up. Peacemaker's everywhere right now. Who cares about Peacemaker? No one cares unless it's a TV show. We don't need Peacemaker everywhere. Yeah, this book just was pretty boring. I didn't really care about any of the new differences. I hate the design of Superman. It's very much just like, what will, we got to update Superman for a modern audience. This is what the kids will think Superman will look cool. If we make him a little more edgy, give him long hair. It's like no one cares about that. He's got his own Jarvis now. And I do like Superman being more of a champion of the oppressed like he originally was. I think that's cool, but I just don't think the execution of it wasn't interesting. The execution of it was done very poorly, but it's Jason Aaron, so I didn't really expect a whole lot. And I definitely think this was the worst of the 3 Absolute books. I actually enjoyed the other 2. I thought Batman and Wonder Woman were surprisingly fun to read. This one I didn't really have any fun at all.
You know, in a lot of ways, Dylan, the Absolute Superman reminds me of Kneel Before Doomface. Because if you go to the Kneel Before Doomface campaign and you scroll down and you see the scene in the coffee shop, the barista there is modeled after Absolute Superman, because that's what Absolute Superman looks like to me, is he looks like barista Superman. So, you know, there is that nice little connection there. But no, I completely agree with you. Every sentiment that you have expressed is exactly what I thought while reading this book. I thought that it was going to be heavy-handed and bad, and it was. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just the first one off my list, and I think we all kind of like predicted that just based on what we were seeing and who was writing it. And there's so many of these artists, like, you know, Rafael Sandoval, that deserve better. They deserve better than the scripts that they're getting from these writers at Marvel and DC.
Man, I agree with Dylan too. The thing that I got though is, again, you're centering so much on Krypton, and I get the idea. You want to show a change, but why Krypton? And the idea, you don't get to Superman until page 15 or so. And when you're doing it, you know, you're using Krypton as, the Kents aren't involved, so he had to learn, you know, what he learns from Jor-El and Laura. But we could get that in a page or two. And so when you go in, I think a lot of people go into this like, okay, I want to see what's cool about this. What's the reason why I'd read this? What's so cool? And you're there on Krypton without Superman, really. And it's just, what is, you know, the deal? I said when we reviewed it, it reminds me of like, you get an album from a band and the first song is an acoustic solo. Like you have to come hit, you have to hit hard and end up getting people excited. And even by the end, where I think when you get Superman, it does pick up a bit. But when you get to the end, like, what is it that you're going to go and tell somebody like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, you got to see this. And the other 2 books kind of like Batman definitely had it. Wonder Woman had it a different type of way, but this just doesn't have that like elevator pitch of, hey, it starts in half the issues about Krypton and how, you know, the House of El are servants and they're the lower class. That's nothing to really get somebody excited. And it was a weird way to start. It was a really odd way to start. And also it kind of turns you off by it as well. But I'm with Dylan. I like to see Superman being that champion of the oppressed. They just kind of forced it into something. I would have liked to have seen a bit more variety. He's just like, kind of like, well, my dad ended up doing stuff in the mine, so I'll go do that. They mentioned some other things, but you only see that. But yeah, overall, it was odd because you don't get a lot of Superman or what is Superman. It's more world building, but I kind of think you should start with the character.
Well, you know, you have to world build when you're not being handed a fully formed character to go back and deconstruct. So, you know, Jason Aaron had to actually do some work.
Yeah, and it just was odd. And I even, like Kaiser Jose says in the chat, that it felt like, you know, Greta and the whole deal. But that's what Jor-El always was. I had no problems with Jor-El saying, oh, my God, there's problems with Krypton. Krypton's falling apart. That was always a thing. That's what he always would say. He expanded it in a way that, I don't know. At one point, I thought it was funny because usually you just get very quick Science Council. Krypton's destroying itself. They laugh at him. He leaves. In this, it's during a commencement speech, but it's, you know, it's more to make the science look bad and kind of go with it. But I don't know how Jason Aaron's going to go with the ideas. Is Cal going to be against science? But he doesn't seem to be. You have that Jarvis deal, that, you know, a Kalex Jarvis that seemed odd. There's a lot of odd choices, but they felt like Jason Aaron choices. So you kind of like roll your eyes with it. But by the end, I was intrigued. I didn't love it though, and I'm with Dylan. It's my least favorite of the 3, easily.
Yeah, and it was interesting that I laughed very hard when there's a middle management class that has an M on their chest.
Yeah, an M. I said when I'm looking
like, really,
at it,
that's not like he's got an M.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I thought the guy was making a joke at first, you know, kind of throwing it at Jor-El, and I'm like, oh no, that's what he is. Like, he's so proud of himself with that M. Like,
it's not as good as Captain America. It's like the A.
Oh yeah,
France.
Yeah. But yeah, and even Kaiser Jose again. I'm not gonna judge it and, you know, throw it away for one issue. It's just that I had trepidations. I think Aaron, the same deal. You go in waiting to see if this is going to be a Jason Aaron book, and you see that it is. So I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, I'll give it some chance, but I already see some cracks in this that might end up becoming, worse and worse. But I hope they don't. The thing, though, too, is when Scott Snyder brags about this absolute line, his one thing is, we don't even have editors telling us what to do. I'm like, oh, no. There's trouble. But yet the Kelly Thompson book seemed like she either listened to somebody talking to her about it and got some help and kind of did it a little different. But Jason Aaron's Jason Aaron, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I feel like with Kelly Thompson.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, so I think, and this isn't a pile on Dylan, but everybody is saying that he's right. So I'm going to say you are right, and you are also wrong. I think like every point you make.
Is he going to have to explain it to you?
No, not at all. I think other than the 8th grade thing, because we don't want to insult any reader out there that actually likes it, right? I think every point you made is right, but because of that, it's good. Also, I think Jason Aaron writes a very good prose, and I think anybody that's going to like this is going to be they're like 100% on it. Mm-hmm. But me personally, but it's good, but I don't like it.
No.
Because I don't want to read a fucking story. We broke that seal about Krypton ever again.
No problem, yeah.
Ever again. That's why Absolute Superman's the best history of Krypton. It's 3 pages, and it's a splash, double splash, right? We don't need any more.
Yeah, I think that's a big myth. Like nobody sits there and says
someone in
Krypton's
chat
their
said,
favorite
I
thing.
gotta read 6 issues to make sure this is good. Well, if you like that, it's going to be all 6 issues because I don't like it and I don't want to read about it. I understand you need a little bit of the duality so that you see the same thing happening here and now it's happening on Earth in a different way. It's fine, but I just don't want to read 6 issues of Krypton.
And I'm with you.
For me, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I mean, like I score it really low personally, but I think as far as absolutes are concerned, if you can handle that kind of stuff, it's good. You know what I mean?
And going in, that again, the Kent's not really involved. I would have rather have seen, and you see it through Superman's actions, kind of how he is. I don't need to then that being pressed in that, he learned that from his mom and dad. I would assume that. One of the big plays is he's a little older, so he learned some things, but I think he's doubling up in a way that he didn't need to. I'd rather would have seen Superman being the, champion for the oppressed and really going, and then maybe seeing a couple things where he thinks back, this is how my dad was, but you already get the idea. And nobody, like Uel was saying, I don't know that anybody really likes the Krypton stuff, and nobody, even Dylan, who loves, you're not going to say my favorite thing of all about Superman is when we get to see that bit of Krypton. It's going to be Superman that you love. Everything affects him and goes. I think it was just too over the top. And I did love the art. The coloring once they were in those Kryptonian mines, it was tough. I mean, you were getting just destroyed by red.
And it's at night.
Holy,
like,
my goodness gracious. So, but once you get going, I liked it a little more, but I want to see more Superman. But now I get that he's captured by Lois, and and there's a twist that some people seem to really like.
She still names him.
Yeah.
And then the splash page or the title page comes up. I mean, I think as a story, as something that someone's reading, again, there is a market for this, and I think it's probably bigger than people that are going to actually, critically
I feel
hate
like
it.
the point you're making with this is something you can make with like everything. Like if you like it, it's good. If you don't, it's
right.
bad.
Well,
I
don't know what to say. I
Well,
personally want to read a Superman story with Superman being Superman. I'm not going to get it if I'm reading Absolute Superman. I'm not going to get it if I'm reading Absolute Wonder Woman or Batman. Why would you want the same thing? I mean, it is hokey that they do the symbols. Like when you explain it that way, I'm like, yeah, that is hokey, but people like hokey shit, man.
Yeah, when I was reading it, and I think that one of the things coming, it's kind of a cool thing with Lois, where she ends up grabbing Superman, and it looks like instead of being a reporter, she might be interrogating him to find out some things about him, and maybe that will play out pretty cool. But I don't want Krypton stuff, and we're going to get more, and that does throw me off. But I don't know. At the end, I was like, it's like you're saying, it's different, so you get it. That's what it's supposed to be. But do you like it? And so far, I'm like, I'm hesitant to go for it. I'm still going to go forward with it. But the idea is, I got my trepidations of it because of, again, Jason Aaron, but hopefully he doesn't get in his own way.
Well,
so I think Eric, what you will say there, and I want to defend you here for a minute, is I
wasn't attacking.
Technically good writers with bad ideas. Mm-hmm. If you read a Tom King comic book, he knows actually how to write. Like, he knows how to format a story and for the most part execute it. But he kind of ruins the characters. And Jason Aaron is very similar. That's why you can read the first 3 issues of his Punisher run and be like, wow, this could be very exciting. But then he goes, of course, where Jason Aaron is going to go. And that's what kind of ruins the story. He's doing the same thing with Namor, to where it's different. What he's saying, don't it's like you had a Joanne Stair writing this. And not only would it be a bad idea, but it would also be executed at such a possibly terrible level that you couldn't even take the book seriously.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, another way to exactly right. From the technical execution perspective, from the structure of it, how you're building the world, how you're building. He put a lot of work into building the world of Krypton. Whether you like it or not, he filled it out. He fleshed it out. He created the structure. It paces well. All the technical
motivation for Superman.
Everything is there. It's the creative choices that I think are going to turn a lot of people off. Now, what I will say, if you go back to like looking at the mainline Superman isn't Superman because he's a Kryptonian with powers. Superman is a Superman because he was raised by the Kents. They taught him right from wrong. They gave him his moral compass. They showed him how it was okay to look out for the little guy. It's a lot of that Midwestern flyover state Judeo-Christian upbringing and all those other things that factor into it, where they trained him to be a good guy and then use his powers for the good of other people, right? That's the heart of what everybody kind of associates with Superman. I think Jason Aaron, what he did here was kind of smart in the sense that he's changing how he was brought up. So that sort of alters his motivation. So even though
I don't think it does. I mean, you're saying that.
Well, we will have to see how it plays out.
Midwest Krypton. I mean,
the reason I say that is because if you look at what he's doing on Earth, even though we only get a little bit of it, but what he's doing on Earth is very much motivated by class systems and the sort of the evils of oppression from that class structure. And so he's carrying that over to what he's doing on Earth. I'm not saying I like that.
Well, you say
but I think that's what Aaron's trying to do.
I think that you're completely sus, Gabe. The idea, like even with the Kents, they would go and the farm's being taken away by big government. Like all that stuff always happened. It's the same thing. It's just that we're at a point with Superman that we're so many years from, like all those stories happen at a point. It's just, things and going, and we've gotten to the point. I think Jason Aaron makes the mistake of actually making just Kent farm, but it's now Jarrell and Laura on. There's not really that much of a change, and he's taking too long to show us that it's the same thing, just from a different angle. I wish it was different. I wish that Jarrell ended up getting kicked out, and he said, "Science sucks. The hell with these guys." And then you have a Superman. People might not like it, but a Superman that might be different. Then this still feels like I'm going to go about it a different way to give you the same.
Like he landed on another planet. That planet got destroyed as well because he never intervened, and he ends up on Earth. And now he feels like he has to.
I have to.
Well, I agree. Well, I agree with you, but what I'm getting at is he's trying to get away from the Kent upbringing to give you a different personality in his mindset of how he's approaching things, and so by creating I won't say a new Krypton, but a variant of Krypton that gives him a different understanding of how the world works and how power can oppress and all those societal structures that colors how he approaches the low class workers, the underappreciated, the underprivileged. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I can see how he was trying to take that tack to get to figure out a different way to give you a different Superman. I agree. I don't like it. I think it's very dour. I think it's depressing. I think it's more of an expansion of what Tom Taylor was trying to do with John Kent, right? When he was trying to get into that really activist mindset and trying to, save the environment, save the world. Why aren't you using your powers? When he was lecturing his father, I think this is like an expansion of that idea, which nobody liked. So I don't know why you would go that approach.
I looked at it as a Superman who's like sometimes, and they do recently with Kara, he was on Krypton longer. He's not a baby who's just told about Krypton. He's obviously there longer, so he seems very depressed. And he seems just like trying to figure out what to do and doesn't. Again, what the Kents gave him was somebody to always go back to. And he doesn't have that now. So that I think is different. But I said, I saw Kalichi Oki said that they're changing Superman to a minority. He kind of is. He's one guy from a planet. I mean, that's kind of what he is. But I know what he's saying. But in the meantime, I just think that this issue, you get a lot of different, and we could sit here and each one of us could have a different opinion from what we read because it doesn't really give you a lot. And I'm hoping that as it expands better than kind of the generic deal of it.
The thing about the absolute universe is that it is supposed to tie in with the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have been given this nugget, and if you care, you're gonna have to read it.
Yeah. Now, and I also saw, and I mentioned in our review when we did it about it, kind of feeling like Red Sun. Hum Griffin said in the deal, and but again, I think that Jason Aaron forgets that you can kind of throw things out there with Superman and we'll get the point of it. You don't have to go like that Krypton being half the issue. It was too much. We get it. We see what's going on and then show it through Superman. Show us how he reacts and how he acts. And you don't really get that much of it.
Gabe, are you saying that Jason Aaron gave us a dour and depressing comic book?
I think the way I put it in the review was it's a cross between John Kent's activism, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, that sort of everything is muted and dark and kind of sullen and dour, and then that younger Superman who's like traveling behind, like in the shadows, like on the Lonely Trail was, I think I pointed out, was kind of like Straczynski's Earth One a little bit, just kind of some of that vibe and that tone. So when you put all this together, again, technically, structurally, I think it's fine. It's the creative points and the creative ideas that Jason Aaron's going to make. It's exactly what we talked about earlier when people are talking about Green Lantern, Green Arrow. You get some heavy-handed ideas in there, some preachiness in it. This is like that, but not done nearly as well from a how do I present those ideas to make you give you a compelling story. So I think he definitely missed the mark on that. This is definitely the weakest of the three. I definitely think that making the S doesn't stand for hope; it stands for blue collar. Was dumb. I thought
it stands for slavery, servitude, whatever you want to call
scum.
it.
To the low class, if you want to call it that way.
Stands for socialism.
Flippers.
Yeah, it stands for socialism. Sure. I mean, it's all of that, and that's again also I don't want to pick this up and know that it's a Jason Aaron comic because I'm getting all his politics in there. That I don't want to know, and he's definitely making a play for worker oppression and capitalism. Big corporations are evil. He's definitely going down that road. You can see that.
When I'm looking and I'm thinking about Blood Diamond Mines, I usually do favor the companies. That's what I like.
I do too. I do too.
At least he goes with something that is legit, like really bad. But again, he pushes it a little too much.
Yeah.
All right, Sparrow, you have got to get to Legion Con and make all your fans happy. You're going to be painting individual statues and stuff for people. Or do you call them dolls?
I am indeed. I call them head sculpts. That's what I'll be painting for action figures. Wes. Hey, thanks to everybody. We crossed 150 backers during the stream on Kneel Before Doomface. We are a little over $900 away from completely funding the first 24 pages of the book, and then the tiers after that will be 8-page prologue, and then 24 more pages, added onto the back. So, guys, keep spreading the word. I appreciate what everybody's doing. I appreciate all the enthusiasm for it. And now it's just, to get it out in front of people who haven't seen it before. So hopefully we get a projects we love at some point and get thrown up on that front Kickstarter page and more people discover it. So thank you very much. Thank you to the panel. Uel, I will see you Tuesday. Guys, don't forget, on Uel's channel, I'll be over there Tuesday talking about my career as it is.
Yeah, we're gonna deep dive. I'm sure there'll be inappropriate questions asked, and you may or may not want to, some inside stuff.
Yeah, and so just guys, maybe send your questions to Dylan first so he can explain them to me. Because that's that's why we have Dylan here, is to explain these things.
Dylan explains it all.
That's right.
I'll make the theme song. Don't do it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you. I'll see you next week.
Later, brother. Oh, very nice. Let's rearrange this. We need Jim to be the meat and the Sammy.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. Roast
but
beef.
you guys are talking about Krypton. And my favorite writer in the world, everyone knows, is Robert Venditti. He had a
Mhm.
book called World of Krypton.
Yep.
I made it through half of an issue. I was like, I still hate
Too
Krypton.
boring, right? Krypton.
just
and I
don't
was with
care.
you. Yeah, that's when I think that was when I really came to the realization I don't need any more Krypton. Like Yule is saying, Yule seems to have come up with that idea way before, because
Yeah.
it is. But I'm more of a newer reader especially because a lot of people, when they go back to Krypton, it's like the idea we don't need to see the alleyway, the pearls, all that, and they'll throw that in a.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Oh,
Batman will
when I
look
was
and he'll
reading in
wax
the
poetic,
'80s,
right?
holy shit!
Yeah. So
Everything,
get it,
detective in the alley. Ugh.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Gail Simone, respect and of course admiration for Gail Simone, Krypton is a plot device. It sets the stage for what Superman becomes. You don't need to rehash it. You don't need to expand on it. You don't need to flesh it out into some big grand thing. It's the thing that gets Superman started. Once you've seen it, unless it's something radically changes, you don't need to see it.
Yeah,
again.
and again, I see he wants to show you that he was raised and it's all Jarell and Laura, but again, you could do that in a different way. You do it through, actions and maybe again, because you'll have times when the crystals and things and Superman will see stuff or talk about stuff. But the idea, like I said, of having 15 pages or so and not getting Superman, that's a bold move there, Cotton. You end up starting something that's brand new.
It's a planet-sized fridge. You're fridging a planet, and then the character goes.
That's the only thing you can think of, because the way that it's playing, if you thought, oh my God, this is crazy, Krypton doesn't get destroyed, like this is different, but you see the play setting up. I actually thought that at the beginning, what he was going to go with is that Superman, Clark, he was always told that it was destroyed and isn't. It's going to be this play, but you see it's going down, and it's still no space travel, eco troubles. There's nothing real different of it.
My favorite like written scenes are actually on Krypton, which is the thing I don't want to read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Jor-Els or whatever the hell. I like it. She's talking to that guy in the beginning, and then she's going and talking to her husband, and there's nice scenes in there, but I just don't want to read that. And as far as DC's quality control, you got Superman on Krypton I'm on big F word today. On the Action Comics right now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like you can't double up on this stuff. It's just stupid.
And with Jason Aaron, I was going to say earlier, the thing with Jason Aaron that drives me nuts, I have read some good stories by Jason Aaron, and he does write a competent script. It makes it worse that he ends up doing things that, drive you nuts. I mean, you can't just write it off of, and people will, oh, he's terrible, he's a bad writer. He's not a bad writer. He just writes bad stories, and he's in a rut. I mean, I love Batman Offworld. The deal that it's delayed is crazy. And his Bizarro story was okay. It ended up petering out a bit, but it was better than stuff I thought, oh my God, he has this mojo back here at DC. Maybe it was because he was within the reins of continuity, or, even with that Batman Offworld, he did do what he ends up doing. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of something that happened that you didn't know about, but it's cool and fun. And this just feels dark for dark's sake at points because of the universe. And then going with Krypton, I was bored for half the issue. It did pick up, though.
Very nice. So, Dylan, I will fully admit that I am biased against edgy, darker Superman. I'm very, very tired of the trope, especially the evil Superman. We've got enough Red Suns. We've gotten enough, Superboy Primes and Injustice Superman and all that stuff. So it was going to be very difficult to do a darker, edgier, more modern take on Superman for Jason Aaron. Do you think that he could have done something that would have satisfied your taste as a Superman fan?
Yeah, I think what Jim was touching on earlier was like, I wish he would have gone more different. I think kind of just like changing a few things that don't actually change anything overall was dumb. Like making Kansas on Krypton, that doesn't really change anything about Superman. I wish he would have gone a bit more radical with it and like changed more things to make it more interesting, because we have mainline Superman, and this is supposed to be something different. I like something new. I don't need to have Earth 1 again. I liked Earth 1. We don't need it again. We can do something more different. I would have liked to seen that instead of just kind of the same thing over again, except not as fun or not as enjoyable. I just thought the execution of this book was not there, and it was incredibly boring.
It's not a setup issue. It says it right here. It's part 1.
I actually think, and you say that, and I think with the Wonder Woman, it would have been pretty good. Batman was different. That kind of came out, swinging. But maybe some of these or all of them could have used a 0 issue. Maybe you could have set some things up. Maybe you could have even had it as like
maybe that's what the second half of DCLN should have been.
Yeah. And again, I really think that the DCLN, each of those books, you're not going to do new number 1s for everyone. Have a 0 issue for each one to kind of show you what's different, show you what's going in. And I think some of these could have benefited from, say, a little bit of a 0 issue. And then go boom into the book, and so you can come out swinging and show. I mean, the cool thing, we're buying a Superman book for Superman. Yes, everything's part of it, and it means something to the story. But we want Superman, and this feels more like a Krypton book from the beginning. And maybe you could have gotten that out in like I said, a 10-issue 0 thing that you kind of hand out or something, the free comic book day thing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, in a roundabout way. No, I was going to say in a roundabout way, which is surprising to me. I think of the 3, I almost like Kelly Thompson's the best because, at least from the perspective of the concept, she at least tried to do something different. It didn't feel like didn't feel like a variant on Wonder Woman. It felt like you could really do something like a completely different version, but still had that core. Batman, for his tweaks, still feels like a pretty straightforward Batman story. Superman, for his tweaks, we'll see how it plays out, still feels kind of like a Superman story. Wonder Woman at least was trying to play with her origin to try and give you something where the character could be considered different enough that it would stand on its own. And the two just feel like variations on the same theme.
And with Wonder Woman, it was more, and it was really clear to me, the idea that you're showing how she's different, but even if you change her up, she still has the same core things that actually affected the world around her to make it better. And I think I didn't expect to like it as much. I still like the Batman a lot. I mean, I expected.
I think the concept of Wonder Woman's the best, but the best one to read on execution is Batman, and then
I love that Dragotta artwork. He's so good.
Exactly.
And also,
that double kick was stupid. I mean, that double. That double leg kick was stupid.
Awesome.
But
it was stupid.
When you read,
the stupider the better with Absolute Batman. I want to see the dumbest fights.
I mean, we had our idea.
I was surprised how much
surprised
how much I liked those hook things when he was yanking guys around and throwing them around.
You say that, and as we're talking about a book that came out, a month ago, there's cool things that oh man, that was cool, or that was neat. What do you have that for Superman? Are you like, oh man, it's awesome? Like
his Jarvis was so cool.
Terrell gets mad at middle management.
Everybody's mining these days.
Superman ends up cutting and digging out diamonds for these people. It wasn't. There was no
cool factor in Absolute Batman. Superman. There was nothing really cool.
I think the wow factor is supposed to be Lois.
I think it wasn't a wow factor. I kind of like that when she names him. I'm like, that was a cute little thing that they did there. But she's obviously like General Lane type.
Yeah.
And
but it was
of course,
cute and it was little.
She's not a reporter, and then you say she's investigating him like a journalist.
I would say she's going to interrogate him, and it's a little twist, is what you'll get.
I like that. That's very cute.
And then she'll probably fall in love with him, and
of course, or help him escape, or whatever. And then you've gone through 6 issues, and nothing's happened.
You'll get through 6 issues to get to step 1 of what normally you get from a Superman book, and
I just wish Absolute Wonder Woman's art was better. Man, that was a letdown. That was not.
Oh, I like that guy, Hayden Sherman or something like that. Right?
The close-up shots when you saw her face, there's some cool elements to it. But any time that you backed out and you saw multiple elements going on, it went to crap to me.
I didn't read it though yet.
Oh, you'll see when you get to it.
Maybe I will.
But when you see her face, when she puts like the blood and the mud or whatever on her eyes, it looks pretty cool.
I'm getting good comments at the store for. I'm selling these well. Superman was the one I actually ended up ordering the least of initially, and I'm regretting it. But the other ones are selling really well also, and people are coming back saying. I mean, I have Kelly Thompson fans anyway, but 7 of them, something like that. I sell out of Birds of Prey too. I can't stand the writing because I just can't stand the writing.
Birds of Prey is an awful book,
but people like it. And it's got some fun. Really, it's bad.
But to your point, I think I'm not saying this is happening. I'm not putting in a conspiracy theory, whatever. it wouldn't surprise me if Kelly Thompson had help on Absolute Wonder Woman, because that writing is so very different and much better than Birds of Prey and Scarlet and Black Widow and all those other things she does. It's like
Captain
it's all, I
Marvel.
won't say it's a completely different writer, but it wouldn't surprise me if she had some help on that.
Who's the editor?
So much better.
Again, though, I mean, it might be a character she
Supposed to be
always
Chris
really
Conroy.
liked, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes she claimed that she was a huge Scarlet fan. Reading that book, I don't get that. Like maybe, but not a big G.I. Joe fan, right?
It was so generic.
That's what I'm saying. So like every writer has probably a character they can write, and maybe Wonder Woman's hers. It's only one issue though, so we'll see. But
Very nice. I'll let Dylan have the final word. Someone said we had to let the Zoomer in because the old guys won't let him speak.
No,
We're talking about him when we're not. When we're talking.
yeah,
Come on, Dylan. Tell us how you like
the
Andor.
Poochie of the show. What are you talking
Explain
about?
Absolute Superman to us.
I
Like
had
we're
my piece at
12-year-olds.
the beginning about it, but yeah, it just there were ideas I thought were interesting that I liked, but the execution of them was done very bad. It was a boring book, and I'm not looking forward to having Krypton take up a good chunk of every issue because I think that's what this set the floor for. It's going to
Feels
show
like
that
first 6 issues. Yes.
yeah, it's
Oh,
going to be
man.
just like a bunch of
That's
Krypton. It's going to take forever to get to what we already know. And a lot of these things with Krypton's things that already happened before, like Krypton being corrupt and not listening to Jor-El. It's like, okay, we've done this song and dance before, and now we're going to have to see it go through 6 issues of it from Jason Aaron.
Did you like the last issue of Superman from Williamson? I thought that was a return to form almost.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought it was I thought it was
Mora?
better than a lot of the Dan Mora, so good.
It was so good.
Yeah, I thought it was much better than what we got. I still don't like this Superwoman, and I hope she doesn't stay around long. I don't like Lois having powers, but yeah, it was definitely much better than what we gotten recently from Williamson.
There you go. Federico de la Casa says, Aaron, you forgot Bruce would say just before kissing her, give me some sugar, baby. Unfortunately, Aaron's not here, but we all get it. I was just watching Army of Darkness yesterday. Could be
Nice.
Waid used Trump as an excuse for his lame stories.
Well, he says that.
Maybe.
I mean, that's.
But
my
Trump wasn't in
problem.
office when he was writing Daredevil, and his Daredevil was awful. What's the excuse for that one?
I don't. I have a lot of thoughts on Daredevil because just prior to that, Andy Diggle was taking it in the darkest direction Daredevil has ever been, and it's like it starts with Bendis, and then it takes him to prison, and then you got the Brubaker stuff, and then Diggle does the whole Shadow War and stuff. I thought without a total, just like we're, a lot of people are talking about, we kind of need a line change for some of these companies, a reset or something. And Daredevil from Mark Waid was a reset. And it had really good art. So there you go.
Carlitos Figueroa. It's wild how in the New 52, Wonder Woman and Batwoman were strong while Superman was less impressive except for Grant Morrison's action. I don't know if I agree with that. It seems they're repeating this trend in the current universe. And that's because I didn't like Grant Morrison's action. But
Grant Morrison's action was probably my most let down thing that he's actually written. There were things.
Wasn't great.
Funny enough, my favorite story was when they were on Krypton.
That was
someone who
actually
doesn't
pretty
like
good.
Krypton, you sure know stories about Krypton.
I know, it's crazy. Gene Hondo is drawing those, and his mom is like dancing or running on like light beams that are being shot, from guns. It's pretty sweet.
Well, listen, if you're still not bought into Absolute, like the Absolute universe, don't worry. I'm going to set you straight. Dennis Camp's take on Martian Manhunter is going to seal the deal for you. It's going to be fantastic. I can guarantee.
Cannot wait. After Ultimates number 6, you said it was the best comic book of the year from Marvel, right?
Everybody wants a human possessing Martian Manhunter that looks like Gumby. I think
Gabe
it's going to
loves
be
that
fantastic.
Ultimates.
Yeah.
We saw it.
It's going to be fantastic. I can see.
Yeah,
it now.
Who's the artist on that?
Oh, shoot.
Javier Rodriguez.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I like Javier Rodriguez on that.
He's an amazing illustrator.
On that Zatanna book, written by Mariko
Yeah.
Tamaki. So I don't think the story's great, but the art's so good that it makes it worth it.
Amazing illustrator.
Odd
Like
choice for
Marcus
that book, though.
Martin, and yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'll take a look at Martian Manhunter. If you're the kind
I'll
of
look
person
at
that
it too.
flips through a book, you're gonna love it.
I'll look at it too. I'm not sure that's going to see. I'm not sure it's going to sell the concept on anybody, but sure, we'll take a look at it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Jim,
and then-
Jim, you're the world's biggest New 52 apologist. Do you agree with the assessment that Wonder Woman and Batman were strong in the New 52?
They were pretty strong. Superman, and if you remember, especially the Superman book, the Action comic book, I'll agree with you and Uel. It was very disappointing. But the Superman book, they just jumped through writers, and that thing kept changing writers.
Yeah.
They had no idea what to do with it. It didn't flesh out well because Grant wanted to do his thing in Action, so there was not really synergy. So it did fall apart.
George Perez started out, right?
Yeah. George
Yeah,
was.
and that was-
He later
He didn't
came
even
out
make
and was
it
like
to 10 issues
editorial
or
just
something.
messed with them so hard.
Again,
He was pissed
he
about.
said that they really screwed with them, and then they just kept jumping around, and they didn't have a real good,
Like
feel
Scott
for it.
Lobdell.
Yeah. So, but some people then eventually liked the Superman Wonder Woman stuff. Like there was a bunch of
there were some
things
good
that-
stories in that.
Yeah,
I like
so
Sewell.
you did end up. So you ended up,
Or I've
kind of
liked
writing it a bit, but you end up with all this going on. Like it's one issue. We'll have to see what's happening, but I'm intrigued still by the Superman. I'm just a little disappointed. I thought that I was going to be like really pumped up for it, and I just wasn't. So
I'm going to throw a hot take on Dylan's ass right now. Best book during New 52, Aquaman.
Yeah,
Aquaman was really good.
I thought you were going to say something about his ass.
Come on.
Yeah, but
I
who
think
wrote?
it's
Who wrote it?
underrated.
Who wrote
I
it?
like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, just
only read
Ivan
Wonder
Reis and
Woman,
Jeff Johns.
that's maybe the best.
Yeah,
book.
Jeff Johns.
Wonder Woman was really good. People don't
Wonder Woman
like
was
it
great.
now. But yeah, there was some stuff like Frankenstein and Agent
Dude, I was just
58.
gonna
I
say
loved it.
that was all the way good.
Yeah.
all the way.
People
Severely
don't even
underrated.
remember it. It was so good.
Really
Oh
underrated.
my God,
yeah.
All Star Western
It
was
was a-
great. I loved
All-Star
Ooh,
Western
that was
was
an
really
excellent
good
one too.
until they
Pontiac,
decided
it was
to bring them to
Frankenstein?
the current time. Was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
you know what? Also, the Demon Wars was actually good too.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
if you did
gosh.
those characters.
Now we're a bunch of New 52 apologists.
No,
Demon
I'm
Knights
just
was
telling
great.
you,
That
there were
Demon Knights was
some
awesome.
there were some
That-
good books.
Yep.
Look,
but those were
everybody-
the ones that were never going to last. You knew that.
And
I
somebody
mean, Dan
even said in
Didio's
the
got.
chat-
Dan Didio's got
Animal
mud on
Man.
his face for some of the
Animal
things that
Man
he
was
left with
awesome.
DC. But I mean, when he was trying, at least he was willing to take some risks with the New 52 lineup, trying to get, it wasn't just the Trinity and Justice League and Flash and whatever else. He was expanding into OMAC, and he was trying to do all these other things in there. So at least give him credit for trying to expand the line into different types of storytelling and to bring some characters to the front that you haven't seen in a long time. So at least give him credit for like trying to get some things going that isn't just the Trinity and the Justice League.
Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow was awesome.
Really
Ann Nocendi's Catwoman was so bad that it made me laugh every time I read it. So that I loved. I know that I think Yoel's a big Ann Nocendi fan.
I am
It
not
was
actually.
okay. It was tough. But it was funny because she just didn't quite get any concept of anything modern. And so you'd have weird ways of using computer. It was so funny. That's where I actually met Josh and became friends with Josh because of that book, because we'd talk about it after we'd read it. But there were, again, the New 52, when it started, there were a lot of good books. And then things kind of got away
It's hard
from
to
them. And
keep 52
Yeah,
books being good, though.
yeah, and so many books, but
A
that
lot
was
of-
the thing. Like a lot of them though were really good, and a lot of them sucked. But it was more the writers and stuff.
Do people not like the Wonder Woman because of
No,
Kip Chang?
yeah. No,
Well, they
people don't like it
changed her
because of the way
origin
they
and stuff,
changed.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, people
mean, it was
would
never-
crow about it until they said that the Amazons ended up, doinking some sailors against their will to keep going. People bailed.
You can say
that was
rape,
what-
Jim.
I just don't want to get in trouble. They doinked them against their will. Isn't that the proper terminology? But that's when I saw people just lose their
Okay.
shit, was
Wow,
when that
damn, I didn't know
happened.
that.
Because I
That's
thought
a
it was
non-heroic act, Jim.
great. And
Yeah,
it is.
well.
It is. But you have to do what you got to do.
You got to
know,
do what you got to do. You got to grab that bag if you know what I mean.
Eating at the Y is not going to get you anything. You're going to have to go. But by the end, though, when that happened, then they seemed to kind of go and double back and say, "Oh, this was Messiah." People just wanted to complain. I think at that, around the
Okay.
2016 to
52,
18 part, they
okay.
just wanted to yell and scream about stuff. So I see people more saying it wasn't good, but you still.
When
end up
I hear
seeing the
people
guy.
don't like Wonder Woman, I really wonder when they liked Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Because
Ragnarok. The last run.
oh,
liked.
those were good.
And
and
I
before
think
that,
the
you got to
last
go to
one, but the one
Perez.
before.
I love the
Perez.
Perez was good, but my favorite issue is that Joe Kelly scripted when Phil Jimenez was the artist writer. And it's just Wonder Woman being interviewed by Lois Lane, and it's like it's a good issue.
People hated Denny O'Neil's Wonder Woman.
When it was white suit, that's actually
She
the
became one of
ones that
Charlie's
people want to
Angels.
buy more than anything usually.
That's
She was
pretty
a
cool.
spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like Avengers and stuff.
Yeah.
But TV stuff.
Next up, we've got Mr. DC Comics. That was a fun one. Why is there such an emphasis on alternate versions of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman? Is DC saying they'd rather have a new version of these heroes?
No.
Ooh, that's the same question that was asked back in the Ultimate days.
I think it's
when
they
Helen was a
believe
child.
that the characters that we have are too old-timey and they don't resonate with a newer audience. So they want a more newer, modern version that they hope will bring in a new audience.
And you say that, I think it's with that also the writers, they can say, listen, you can write Batman, but do your thing. You can't.
Yeah, and you're not constrained by continuity.
Yeah, so the continuity kind of constrains them. So like, hey, you got a cool idea. Now they go a little over the board with, Batman as a Cthulhu monster. Like it gets a little wacky at points, but also they want to sell books and stuff. But I think it's more of, like you said, they don't want to mess their regular deal, but want to have something edgy. And also the writers will, be more apt to write something that they can have more control over and not worry about what they have to be constrained by.
Plus,
Also,
if you want
DC
to put on
can
your
sell
tinfoil,
fifth version of a Batman book with an alternate version of him better than they can sell a Firestorm book that only has one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More options.
Plus, if you want to put on your tinfoil hat situation, that you get this idea that public domain and some of that stuff's coming up, so they want to kind of create a new version that's different enough that they can do a different trademark. That's always a possibility. I'm not saying that's the only motivation, but it's there.
Yeah. Well, when you look into that, there's a lot of with trademarking too that could save their butts at the end. Anyway, there's a lot of.
I'm assuming that Congress is going to get paid off and change those laws.
I mean, it's the idea of copyright, but then the trademark is the idea of how big and how it's known for. Okay, that, and they could fight with that. There's a lot of ways they can still fight that.
Yeah, so it's definitely all the rage. I think it's Dylan and the Zoomers' fault. You guys keep demanding new versions of fucking Superman because you don't appreciate Big Blue.
I don't think many of the readers are demanding this. I think this is more of an internal thing where, like, this is why people aren't reading Superman because he's not edgy enough.
And that's what they seem to think,
he's
right?
a do-gooder.
Yeah, well, Jason said it himself. He's like, I got to update Superman for modern audiences. Like, he's timeless. You don't got to update
Poochie
him.
when they do that.
The thing, Dylan, you're right, because the thing is, though, it's always been this way with Superman. You know, before Byrne came on, it's like, oh, he's so boring. He can do anything. He can like move.
He was sexually harassed women left and right, trying to nail his cousin, throwing people into
damn right. And
pornos. He's had different moments when he was doing super dickery stuff.
I love the super dickery stuff. So
I mean,
much.
I would suggest like DC needs an assistant editors month where they just go back to one of those eras, and just put it into comic for shits and giggles.
Superman was kind of a psychopath before John Byrne.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has been. I mean, in the Crisis days, it wasn't quite that way. But I don't know. Superman's a hard sell with kids these days. It's been kids these days for a long time, though. It's a long time ago when Superman was the #1 book of all time. And he was that big, it's superhero selling book that, you remember when the Raiders would they win so many games on Monday night, but then, the 80s, the 90s, and other years.
The only people wearing spikes.
They still won so many. They're probably one of the winningest teams. You know what I mean?
It is funny when you look at the alternate versions, and you're saying this with the alternate version deal. When you get a Superman, the alternate is, evil Superman. Oh my God, he's so different. When you get the alternate Batman, a lot of times it actually feels more classic Batman than we actually get in the regular continuity. It almost feels like some of them end up writing them like you want them to write them and how they wrote them before, where he punches a couple people, he doesn't hug.
Batman's a little more malleable.
Like again, there's no real deal though, where you have that alternate version of Batman where he's going around, kissing people and high-fiving and smiling all the time and whatever, which would be almost like what they do with Superman, but they don't do that. They end up making him feel more like actual Batman in it. It's weird.
So expanding on that last thing that Uel said before we move to the next topic, I got like little bitty kids versions of Captain America, the Avengers, and then I got Superman of Smallville, which is a little book written for kids. And I got him for my oldest son now when he was little. The only one he ever fully finished reading with me, and he read it 3 times, was the Superman book. But his favorite were Tiny Titans. So maybe kids still like Superman. All right, I guess we have time for one more topic. I guess Mark Waid is at the top of it. It kind of ties into, I guess, a lot of reactions regarding the election results and some people being very, very upset about that. Uel, you said you specifically wanted to address this.
Yeah, I think the thing, all right, so him being upset and even crying online, I don't think that's really a big deal. And, we get a lot of humor out of it. But when he says something like, my work is going to suffer as a result, and you can know it from this, I have a problem with that. I don't want to hear my employees say something like that. I'm my only employee. So it actually gets said. But I don't tell it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't say it
to
your
you
customer.
don't tell it to your freaking bosses. And I mean, seriously, Mark Waid is one of the better writers that's working at DC, regardless of what Doc thinks about him. He has, you look back and some of your favorite stories in the last 30 years of DC, maybe Marvel Comics, have been some Mark Waid books. Maybe some bad ones also. But, he's not my favorite writer. I'll read a Peter David before a Mark Waid. Just the way I am. And he's probably, if he was a social media guy, he'd probably be saying some shitty stuff too, Peter David. But he would never say that his work is going to go bad, and I think that's really bad. I've already put in an order for Justice League. It's going to have good art. It's going to have Mark Waid, who I said is probably one of the better writers at DC. It's going to get the Justice League back together. It's going to be like unlimited. I even had someone come in talking about Dwayne McDuffie, and I'm like, oh, if you like that, you should know about this book that's coming out. And then he comes out and says this stuff, and it's like, really? I think you should fire him. Seriously. I don't want to hear this. Like, it's time. Nobody should give this guy any more money.
Well, yeah, because he's making the company look bad. It's
very upsetting.
Generating negative headlines as you're about to do your big relaunch.
Yeah. Jim Lee is going to be drawing one of your comic books again. You know what I mean? You got Jeff Loeb coming back, and Hush, and Alfred. We've got the Absolute line that's flying off my shelves, and then you got someone that's purposely sabotaging stuff. Like you're saying, it's going to be sabotage as a result of this. Grow up, man. It's time. It's like, what about your buddy that's working on this book? He came over, geez.
I'm with you. It's different than seeing someone like 25 years old freaking out.
What about the guy? What about the people that work in the company with you? They depend on you up, all the rising tide and all that. They depend on you. Well, nobody
expect a grandpa
matters.
to be able to handle some adversity.
No.
My
whole deal is it's not
your
shocking.
Your company's in the state that you wanted to win. You know what I mean? It's like, what?
His deal, he should have just kept his mouth. He's a narcissist. He wants everybody to, hear what he has to say, and he doesn't think about the whole bigger picture. But I don't think anybody was shocked by it. I mean,
I'm not shocked. I mean, there is entertainment value in his little blow-ups. It's this part that's really upsetting to me. And
I know that people are, they won't read him because of his stance or whatever. But I see the same people still supporting people who do way worse than saying I'm this political guy or that political guy, and they'll still end up defending people who do some really awful things. So to me, again, I wish that we were back to people don't discuss politics. I don't. We're here on the channel and we don't really go too far into it because you don't win any sort of way. And he should just talk to his friends and not,
technically he was, if you're on Blue Sky or Facebook and stuff like that, you are only talking to I would have never known if people didn't say something about it.
Yeah.
But, that's what happens. And, people suffer for these things. And I don't know if I don't really mean he should be fired. He should be reprimanded, is really what it is. And I don't think necessarily anybody should not read his books if they suffer as a result.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would never.
I don't
call
think you
anyone
should
not
put
to
that
read.
kind of concept out there that I'm not going to perform well because I didn't get paid money. You know, I hate that when athletes do that. You know, it's like you got a shitty agent. You know, you got to go out there and do your job. Strikes are difficult to accept.
And
You know
again,
what I mean? When you're
people in the
waiting for your
comments-
shit so you can have your store running, and you find out somebody's going on strike, it's really hard to support people that you like when they're doing something like that. And
yeah, my whole thing
Mark
is
Waid
he's on
say, I'm gonna
Twitter
put
saying
shitty
this,
stuff out.
and a lot of people are saying, well, when this person was elected and whatever, like there's probably people who did do that. It's just that Mark Waid is a target for people, and he's also well known, and he also has a lot of followers. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who say the same thing. It's just that he is bigger and they see it, and it's kind of a weird take. But instead of saying, hey, I don't really like this, but we'll see how it works out, or he could have done it in a different way, or just kept his mouth shut. Is what he should have done.
I mean, they should be getting Jeremy Adams on the next arc right after the first JLA that Mark Waid does. You know, like that guy. Bring Venditti back.
And again,
steal
like
somebody
Jeremy
from
Adams,
Marvel that's still good. Hell, put Jason Aaron on it.
I talked to
You know what I
Jeremy
mean?
Adams. I could guess what I think he's leaning politically, but he doesn't go out and shove it down people's throats and say he hates everybody else who isn't like him. And so that's what the real thing is. It's not, Mark Waid supports this or that, is that he actively says that he hates other people. That's when you blew it then.
Yeah.
There's no
I got an
I don't
idea.
support
You
Mark
get
Waid.
Daniel Warren Johnson to write 12 issues for you,
That's what you
Justice
do
League.
it.
Right
The
after
reason
Mark Waid's first run.
I don't support Mark Waid books isn't because he has a political persuasion or even because of what he said about Trump. I would laugh about it, or the election. I would laugh about that, but it wouldn't change my mind about reading comic books. If I didn't read people that leaned left or freaked out about the election or something, I'd be reading half the comic books that I do right now. It's because he's a fucking asshole and he's an incorrigible baby. This is the same guy that at Next Gen, sent the dude black flowers and and all that kind of stuff because his wife, like, how would your wife feel about you? And the same guy that was throwing temper tantrums and saying, I want the industry to burn if I have to work with people that I don't like politically. These are all terrible things and terrible outlooks, and I don't want to support the guy. Not because of his political eye, but because he's a fucking douchebag. And eventually enough is enough. That's how I feel about it.
No. Yeah, and then I think anybody gets to pick what they read or not. I mean, that's the thing. But what I see too, though, is both ways going and like, oh, you're reading him, you're a piece of oh well, whatever.
Yeah.
It ends up, and the
Chris
big thing that
Condon freaked out this week. I'm going to
Chris
read
Condon
Green
freaked
Arrow.
out, so I'm waiting to see. But again, there's some people who take such a hard stance. I'd never read this, and then he called people fascist, and they don't care, right?
We have to
But
read everything.
the idea of it, first off, there's not enough good writers. So if you start getting rid of things with that, it's one thing. Also, what pisses me off about Mark Waid doing this is you're talking about bullshit that is in comics. I'd rather talk about, like, oh my God, that issue's so great. And it becomes the major topic this week of, oh my God, this guy who always says shitty thing said a shitty thing again. I mean, I'm sure there were people that when the election results came in, they went right to his page to see what the hell he's going to say, waiting to get angry at it. And I just like talking about comics, and it just becomes, I said to Wes when me and Wes did our Patreon show, my kids, younger kids, crazily almost Dylan's age, but the idea, some of them actually are, but the idea, like, they will ask their friends, how much money do you make a week? And their friends are like, oh, I make this. Like, they don't even bat an eye. Like, people just, like, you used to not talk about this as much, the politics and religion and money and stuff like that. And it just becomes this, and this is why you didn't, because people lose their shit over it. And it just sucks that that's what comics are about now.
Dylan, it is rude to ask somebody how much they make. It's rude to ask a woman her age or her weight. And I don't know why you keep doing this.
Yeah, Dylan.
Why
Someone's got to. Someone's got to. If I don't ask enough questions, who will?
I said there are YouTube videos where the people just randomly go up to people and, how much money do you make in a year? And they gladly just say it. How much is your house worth? And I'm like, that's crazy.
Like, how much you got in your bank account? Like, why don't you go fuck yourself? How about how much I got in my bank account?
That's how much.
I'm Gen X. We don't give away information. We know the fuzz is always looking at us. We never give evidence out. Right?
Yeah, it's like religion. It's religion, politics, and stuff like that. You just really
Religion,
don't.
politics,
you
and
know?
money.
Yeah, religion, politics,
And you
money,
realize
right
now
there.
it's because
and
you can't
what
win.
comic company you support,
Exactly.
if you're a Marvel zombie or not.
Yeah.
Dylan, is that because you guys grew up playing video games together and couldn't see each other's reactions when you asked rude questions?
I don't know what it is. I think it's just for attention because when you see these questions asked, it's on camera. Like people are doing man of the
Yeah,
street stuff.
yeah.
because
Well,
they
the
get clicks
people
for it.
reacting and crying, it's clearly premeditated.
Also,
You weren't
reactions
crying when
are-
you hit record. You just started recording when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very performative.
the reaction videos. I don't see Uel back in the day like some little thing happens and he's like flying up in the air and falling over. And like these reaction videos are so ridiculous. I do
The
blame-
memory of how happy I was when Kirk Gibson hit that home run
Exactly,
in game
yes.
1 was not recorded. And it's a shame because
You probably did
if
cry.
you could see it, you'd think I could jump
Well,
that high
you
all the
think
time.
that is the
But,
same
to
reaction that
me-
somebody gets for getting new shoelaces now.
Mhm.
I mean, one of
Oh
the
my
best
God, I opened
moments
up
in
this
baseball
box.
history ever, but now
Yeah.
it's something like that.
But I mean,
Right.
it wasn't filmed and it's sad, but in my memory, it's so yesterday. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Oh man, I
feel-
remember when Joe Montana hit Lake Dawson in the end zone on Monday Night Football
Yeah.
against John
That was
Elway and
awesome.
the Broncos.
That was one of the best games
Yes.
ever.
John Elway had marched down. We only had a minute and 15 seconds left, no timeouts, and John Elway had done this to us like 8 times, and we finally beat him. Oh, I was elated. I should have recorded that.
Well, I mean,
remember
probably
when-
the saddest aspect of the circumstance is it goes back to something that Dan Slott said, right? Which is another terminally online troll of a creator, which is he just views people that are online and the back and forth and the tete-a-tete as they're just pixels. It doesn't matter. It's not real. He disassociates himself from the words he says because it doesn't matter because he doesn't have to suffer any consequences from it. So I think from the perspective of somebody like a Mark Waid who says these awful things, and these are awful things to say. Let's not mince words. These are awful things to say. But the reason he says them and can get away with them and feels comfortable saying them is because they're sort of trapped in this online bubble space that for him and the executives above him treat as not real because there are no consequences for it. Now, the difference I think would be is if Mark Waid's words were picked up by, say, like a national newspaper or some national news agency, and it got back to somebody at a more executive level, you would then probably see
Comics
some
aren't big
repercussions
enough anymore.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter.
somebody high up has to see that and say, "What the hell are you doing?" And get. But as long as it stays in, so in other words, Mark has found that limit of how many awful things can I say, but still stay in that sphere of, well, nobody above my level cares. I can say whatever I want, and as long as I don't cross too far or don't catch the wrong news agency's attention, nobody will care. So I
Most
can
people
keep saying it
above him
over-
probably agree with him anyway. So
Well, the
and,
thing,
possibly.
and I see
the-
Gabe doesn't like sports, is why he butted in. When
He's
they
got
were
no
fucking-
sports ball
I mean,
knowledge.
Look at him. Look at the sports ball. I was just gonna
Dork.
say the reaction when Mitch Williams let up the home run to Joe Carter. I actually punched out a
Go
window.
team.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I
Hit
punched
the
out
ball
a
through
window.
the thing.
I was
And
so
a death
angry.
threat because I heard he got a lot of them.
Yeah, he did.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that
It was
fat
overpitched.
Phillies team where everyone
Spencer
chewed
doesn't know what
tobacco
he
was
was.
280 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the point is,
Touch-
Mark Waid is definitely
Dot-
displaying some
touch
emotional
Dalton.
immaturity, but
Here he goes.
it's going to keep going, and nothing about it is going to change unless it catches the attention of, say, somebody much higher up who's going to say, "What the hell are you doing?" And until that happens, he's just going to keep going and going. And going.
The one thing I want to support is his right to say anything he wants, and I don't care personally. Like, he won't upset me. But what does get me upset is when you're saying you're gonna, it's like
You're gonna damage the
specific
product.
on
Affect your
strike.
business.
You're gonna put.
Yeah, you're going to damage the product.
You don't do that. You
Gabe's
affect
favorite
way
sports
too
moment
many
is
people
Brian
in that,
Botano,
and that's
by the
the
way.
problem I have with what he said. Really, I mean,
Johnny Weir.
No, don't
just
start that.
ridiculous.
Don't start that.
just ridiculous. Mark Waid.
You're
I
a
don't
Johnny
know how you
Weir
guys
guy,
feel.
Gabe?
He's a Johnny Weir.
No, I'm not a Johnny
Yeah.
Weir guy.
I heard
Why
that.
would I be a Johnny Weir guy?
Well, it's your sus Gabe. It feels like a sus
That's
Gabe.
Gabe. That's the deal.
What about me says ice skating?
What about you doesn't say
Everything.
ice skating?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, thank you.
I see that manicured nails. I can
Yeah.
tell that you went to the salon to have your beard worked on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I don't like where this stream is going right now. I'm just putting that out there.
Synchronized swimming. Gabe's all in.
Ugh.
He loves it
Very
all.
nice. So Dylan, people might not know this, but you are an avid Twitcher guy, like you're always streaming and stuff like that. You were just in New Zealand. You're of that generation. Did you go full Johnny Somali on the New Zealanders? The Kiwis?
No, I didn't. I didn't do.
God.
I didn't commit any. That's hilarious though. That guy like gets released
You love it?
instantly. Just some Koreans assaulting him. I love seeing him get his ass beat.
Yeah.
After like for a long time he was terrorizing those people and they had enough and now they just beat his ass. And he's going to prison. I think that's great. I think that's hilarious. And now he's like, oh, I was young and I made mistakes. I'm sorry. That's
I can tell you, as somebody that lived in Korea, you might think like, yeah, you might be a little bit taller than most people there, but you could tell most of the dudes there can scrap pretty good. Like they got big ass heads, definitely fight. You don't want to just fuck around with people in Korea.
I thought you were going to say they all know martial arts. I was going to like.
I don't think they all know martial arts, but you never know.
You're going that route.
You never know. That's what it is.
So
That is true.
When I was in Korea, we would have to go and announce where we were going to on vacation if it wasn't back to America. And then we would have to get like a personalized briefing if we were going to certain countries. And I was going to Thailand with my buddy King, and we were going to go there and, you know, have some fun for a few days. And they got this personalized briefing, and we were told that 75% of the lady boys in Thailand were trained kickboxers. Like
So
they really want us to stay away from
Yeah.
these lady boys.
Wow.
I had a lot of
Funniest
Thai
briefing
friends,
I've ever heard.
and I
That
think
should
they
be very
told me that.
vigorous.
I think that is an accurate statement.
It was so racist. I was like, that is great.
Uh,
But I had to sign off acknowledging that I realized a lot of transgender women in Thailand were kickboxers.
Did you get any ladyboy Muay Thai classes or what?
Absolutely not. Well, we did go, but we were watching some Muay Thai, but then after like 2 fights, I was elbowed my buddy because I'm a big UFC fan. I was like, I don't think these guys are really punching. It feels like they're all pulling their punches, and we realized we were in this tourist trap, and it was all for show. Nobody was actually hitting each other, and I was pissed.
Oh,
We were
like the Coliseum back in the day.
Coliseum.
Yeah.
We had to fight to
You
the
know.
death in Coliseum.
Yeah. Well, sure. Until they didn't anymore. Yeah. They're like, you know what? Better not dying.
yes.
Let's wrestle.
It's always better.
So you should definitely go to Korea, become the next Johnny Somali, Dylan, and put yourself on the map.
I think that's a good idea. I think I might stand a better chance than he did. I'm pretty sure he's a real small guy. So
Yeah. Well, what he did with that statue was actually pretty disgusting. What that statue like represents and stuff.
yeah, he did a lot of horrible things. He's getting what he deserves.
He's got a very punchable face too.
It
True.
looks like he's going to
Yeah.
get 10 years, and I think they'll give him every year of it.
Good.
All right. Are we done talking about Mark Waid losing his smile? I thought that was a great video title that I did this week. That was good. So let's get into
Maybe
some
later
comic
on
book-
when he gets. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe later on when he gets back, you can do Mark Waid gets his mojo back, or
Boom. Maybe he
oh,
gets
got
it
his
on
groove
JLU.
back. How Mark Waid got his groove back. How's that?
The sequel. We were going to talk about our favorite Star Wars comic book. I guess we could do this really quick. Dylan, obviously, you're an enormous Star Wars fan. You've actually recommended lots of Star Wars comic books to me. I'm going to go with John Jackson Miller's Knights of the Old Republic, which is an awesome omnibus. If you've never read that one, what's your favorite Star Wars comic book to recommend?
I'm gonna go with a single issue, which is Boba Fett, Agent of Doom. It takes place after Return of the Jedi. Boba Fett comes back and he's going to check out this contract from this guy who's the last of his species who got essentially genocided by the Empire. And the guy's like, I got 100 credits for you. Take out these two dudes that were running like space Auschwitz. And Boba Fett's like, why would I do 100 credits? You're embarrassing me. He's like, because ever since you came back, no one knows if it's you behind the armor. Like, no one really believes you. You've got a reputation to uphold. And he's like, and these two dudes should die. He's like, because you're Boba Fett. He's like, all right. And then he does. He goes and takes them out. And the last of the species dies right after Boba Fett takes out these two dudes. And it's sick, and the way it's done, everything is so cool. And I love that issue. It's so cool. Like, the execution of it. It's such a sick book. And seeing him
Boba
take out
Fett,
these
Agent
guys.
of Doom?
Yes, and it does a great job of being like Boba Fett is completely just like a gray character. He doesn't care about anything. Like he kills these two dudes that are slavers, and there's like the slaves are like, help us. He's like, I don't give a shit about any of you. He's like, you can take those guns in the ground for
Contracts
yourself.
filled.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. To where like something like Mandalorian, he'd be like, I've got a heart of gold. I need to help these people now. Or Boba Fett's like, I don't care. It's great. Boba Fett, Agent of Doom.
Very nice. What do you got for us, Gabe? You got any favorite Star Wars comic books of all times?
Yes, I'm going to go way back on the Wayback Machine and date myself ridiculously. Marvel put out a paperback adaptation of Empire Strikes Back, written by Archie Goodwin, which was adapted from the original screenplay script. Now, what's unique about this is because it's kind of in paperback form, but it's a comic book adaptation of Empire Strikes Back. It was released 5 months before Empire Strikes Back actually came out. So if you wanted to know what was going to happen, and Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie, if you wanted to know what happened and you picked up that trade paperback, it spoiled the hell out of them. It pretty much gives you everything from start to finish, but it's still a great read. It still gives you all the piece parts. There are a few variations, like where it was slightly different from what the finished product was when it was released in movie theaters, but I dog-eared the hell out of that thing. So for me, it just partly for nostalgia, partly because it was a great adaptation, and partly because it just gave you everything that you're looking for, and it even gave you what you were looking for in advance of the release of the film. For me, that's my favorite of all time.
So you spoiled it for yourself?
Yeah, but I didn't. I was a kid,
worth
so I
it.
didn't care. It
Archie
was worth
Goodwin.
it. It was worth it. It was Archie Goodwin adapting from the screenplay. It was, and I loved it. Loved it.
Do you have a favorite, Uel? Star Wars comic book?
Yeah. I like Star Wars number 17, I think is the number. Let me make sure I got it right. Because I don't really collect. No, this is like Archie Goodwin days. Archie Goodwin and Chris Claremont. I thought it was it says Herb Trimpe and Al Milgrom did the art on it, but I thought it was Carmine Infantino actually. But it's a story about Luke Skywalker on Tatooine. And you know how he always talked in the first movie, talking about like what is it, shooting wompats on
Womp rats,
womp rats back home. Oh, in Beggar's Canyon. Well, it's a story about one of those times when they were doing that. They were having like races in that area, and Biggs is alive, and it's great. There you go. That's one issue. 17.
All right, I went to the official Marvel site, and it says Claremont, Archie Goodwin with Herb Trimpe.
Yeah, no, I just remember it differently. I thought I read it recently, but
I thought maybe you went to Wikipedia and got it.
No, I was looking at a comic book store that has it on their site. But yeah, I mean, I remember it one way, so
Beautiful. At least we still have Marvel Legends, right? Or Star Wars Legends.
Star Wars Legends. Most people want to buy the Marvel years mostly. So from people that like Star Wars, all the Dark Horse stuff is the way to go.
I want to say I like the Dark Horse stuff way better.
So I like the funny stuff. So Tony Millionaire did a story about Jar Jar Binks in one of the Star Wars tales, which was an anthology, and it's how Jar Jar's him and his parents crash on this planet, and his father hates him. And then Tag and Bink are dead is based off of that Shakespeare. Well, not Shakespeare. What is it? Tom Stoppard. Is that who it is? The Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I don't remember. I don't know Shakespeare. Anyway, that one's a good book also. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Or dead?
Yes.
So that's Tag and Bink, and they're like stormtroopers, and that's some funny stuff too. I forget who does that.
All right, Jim, you're a big, enormous Star Wars fan. You're a comics fan. You got to have a favorite Star Wars comic book.
I like the Dark Empire stories, the whole bunch of them, the trilogy of that. But I also really like the Vader Down story. It's like the only thing that I like of Kieran Gillen. I don't really like much of his stuff, but it's really good. And even that Legacy book, which was odd, but I got a kick out of that too. I like that, where they go ahead in the future and you end up having Luke's, whatever it would be in the future deal, all tatted up and extreme for kids like Dylan. It's all extreme. It's a pretty cool
Luke reimagined for a modern audience.
Yeah, but it's
absolute
Skywalker in the future. So you end up having like the continuation and shit is going.
What's his son? Is this his son you're talking about?
I thought it was more down the line. It's been a while since I read it. I thought it was more
Cade Skywalker. Is that the guy's name?
Cade Skywalker. Yep, yeah, that's who it was. Okay. It's been so long since I read it.
We got the blonde curly like Jerry curl hair.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that the last Star Wars comic from Dark Horse?
What was? I thought they had like a Vader thing at the very, very end, but I'm not.
Wow.
I'm not
But
sure.
it's one of the last ones. I don't.
Yeah, it's one of the last.
I
Yeah,
wrote it
yeah,
down.
yeah. I actually read it years ago, and I really liked it. It was pretty cool, just a different deal. But I do like Vader Down and the Dark Empire stuff a lot.
Vader Down, one of the best things
So
Jason Aaron
good.
and Kieran Gillen ever done.
Yeah, and Kieran Gillen. Yeah.
Yep. Before Afro was unbearable.
Yeah.
Good story.
Yeah.
Should have died at the end of that run.
Mr.
Yep.
DC Comics says, I'm kind of interested in seeing Gladiator 2. Anybody plan on seeing it or thoughts on the original? Also, go watch the Penguin show. So I've only seen the Gladiator 2 trailer, the very first one, and I thought it was kind of laughable. I've heard the other trailers are better. Is that the case, Gabe? I know you're a cinephile.
Yeah, I'm with you in that if you're doing a Gladiator sequel, which was ill-advised to begin with, the first one was pretty much perfect the way it was. You didn't need to continue that story. I don't know why they felt the need. I mean, I know why they felt the need, because they want to make money. But yeah, when you start injecting like hip-hop rap music into the trailer, I think you kind of miss the mark on why the first was those. There's a nobility and a sense of classical grace that goes about it. And when you start kind of playing with those themes in that way, it just didn't land.
Well, it's
for me.
supposed to be a period piece. It's hard when you start throwing
Exactly.
modern elements in there that don't fit.
And people are already complaining that there are things that happen in the movie that weren't specific to that period. Like I think somebody said that Denzel Washington's character is reading a newspaper, and newspapers hadn't even been invented yet, and some of those other things. So am I going to see it in the theaters? No. If it comes online, maybe on demand, maybe I'll watch it then, maybe I'll rent it, but probably not going to see it in the theaters. But the first one was fantastic. I mean, you can't.
Great
that
movie.
that hits on every level. It is dramatic. It's well acted. Oliver Reed's last role, and he's just a powerhouse. He chews up that scenery. Everything about it was great. So, yeah, I can't recommend the first film enough. The second one, we'll see. I hear Denzel Washington does a great job with the acting, but
it's Denzel. It's the
but
best.
you know, is that enough to get me into the theater to schedule it and pay all that money and do all that stuff? Probably not.
Yeah, I won't see it in theater because there's no theater in my town, so I don't even have a choice. But Dylan, you going to see the Gladiator 2?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. It looks good. I see everything though that interests me because I got AMC A-list, so it's like $20 a month to see like unlimited movies. And Gladiator 2 looks good. I heard from people I've seen it that's really good. Historical inaccuracy is what Ridley Scott does in every single movie. Like every movie he does, he doesn't really care, and didn't bother me with the first Gladiator. It's not going to bother me with this one. I hope it's good. It looks interesting. Denzel, of course, is going to kill it. Yeah, looks cool.
Yeah. So, do you consider Gladiator to be a classic movie?
Yeah, I'd say it's a classic, even though it's not that old.
This is the thing about getting old, man. It's like people are talking about the classics like GNR, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That just came out. It's like it should be on AMC. Or what is that? Turner Classic Movies?
Yeah, Turner Classic Movies, yeah.
There you go. Yule doesn't like movies. He watches movies at home.
No, I
Jim-
was going to say no, and no.
I'll watch Penguin when it finally comes out on when it's done because I'm gonna have to go find it. I don't have
A lot of people are
pretty
going in
good
the
so
store
far.
saying they like it.
It's pretty good so far.
Did you read that Penguin issue last week? That first story by Jeremy Adams. It's the scariest version of the Penguin I've ever seen in a comic book. It's
Cool.
only 10 pages. It's like the only original part. The rest of it's preprints, but it was cool. Very well done.
Good.
Very nice. I think we've got everybody's favorite Star Wars comic books in here. Now it's time to recommend comic books from the week. Dylan, you just returned from an overseas trip. You probably got some comic book reading in there. Are you recommending anything?
Yeah, for this week I got a few. Witcher Corvo Bianco issue number 5. This is the end of the miniseries. I thought this was the best issue of the series, and I really liked it. So if you like The Witcher, check it out. JSA number 1 was pretty good. I liked it. I like that end tease. I'm excited to see where Jeff Lemire goes next with that. The Green Arrow 2024 annual was surprisingly good because I haven't been the biggest fan of Williams' run, but I really enjoyed this issue. And then Aliens vs. Avengers number 2, I liked. Not as good as the first issue, but I still liked it. And the faces are rough, though. The faces are just
Ribbits cannot draw women. No,
even
it's
Miles
so
though.
old.
Yeah,
She's weathered.
Yeah, she looks like an 80s professional wrestler. Like her face is tough. But even like Miles' face looks weird. Like just the faces in general are like.
Are you saying she
Not
looks like the
especially-
fabulous Moolah?
A bit.
More or less.
Yeesh.
Oh man,
Wow.
she might have
Yeah,
been
those
70 in the 80s. Still the champ. Oh man, I'm with you though. Sometimes, while the art is good, and I like Ribbich a lot, he cannot draw
Yeah.
women's faces.
Yeah, the faces are more terrifying than
anything-
the xenomorphs.
People should be looking out for on the Real Comic Book Gamer Empire. I know you got a podcast, you've got obviously YouTube, you got streaming.
Yeah, I just posted a video going over the first 3 number ones we got for the Absolute books, and then I'll probably have a podcast out about the Penguin when it wraps up here Sunday. So
you
Okay,
recommend
that-
people watch the Penguin?
yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. There are some things I have problems with that I think are pretty dumb, but overall I like it. I think it's pretty good.
Very nice. Sounds good. Sus Gabe in the house. Do you have any comic books you would like to recommend?
Sure, a few, and one of them is probably going to get me the sus label reinforced, but that's
Oh,
okay.
the
Here we
Ultimates,
go.
huh?
It's going to be ultimate.
Oh,
yeah.
Here we go.
But
I
before
love
I
that.
do,
That's my favorite series for all the wrong
But-
reasons.
But before I dig in, yeah, of course, follow on all the socials at Comical Opinions. Our YouTube channel right now is hovering at 886, so we're very close to that 1,000 mark. Well, we're moving up the ladder there. It's just taking some grinding, but we're going to get there. So if you don't already follow us on YouTube, please do so at Comical Opinions, and also on the socials from every social that you can imagine. So recommendations. Yeah, I am going to recommend Ultimates number 6 for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the best of the series. That's a low bar. That's a very low bar, but it's still the best of the series because it falls in that category of dumb fun with some consequences, I think. So even though it's not great, it still, shows that you can have some fun if you put some effort into it. And for Dennis Camp, this is a milestone by a stretch. So check it out just for some dumb fun, some big action fighting that's really stupid with the video game / manga type martial arts moves, and maybe you'll get a kick out of it. On a more serious note,
Like Johnny Weir.
well, Johnny Weir. Conan Battle of the Blackstone number 3. So that's the penultimate issue in a 4-part miniseries that brings all the Robert E. Howard characters together to fight some Lovecraftian evil. So if you're a Pulp fan, a Robert E. Howard fan, you need to be getting on these Titan books, particularly the ones written by Jim Zub, because he's killing it over there. And the third recommendation I'll give is Nemesis Rogues Gallery number 4. All the Miller World titles are very good to great. So if you're looking for something that's different, that's outside the big two, but still kind of has that superhero vibe, maybe a little bit edgier, probably something that you would expect more from, I won't say for Vertigo, but just something that probably would be more something what you would imagine Black Label would be. All the Miller World titles fall in that realm. So Nemesis Rogues Gallery number 4 is it for me as well. Just those 3.
Very nice. Mr. Uel Carter. Obviously, you're going to have Aaron Sparrow on the channel on Tuesday talking about Kneel Before Doomface. Should be fully funded by that point. Are you going to recommend any comic books or any videos that you're going to have in the future besides that?
Yeah, comic books. So you can't get these unless you went to the Small Press Expo, but one of my customers did, and he brought back some 3D comics that I have here. And this one, you're not going to be able to get the full effect, but someday I'm going to have a special episode where I will be sending out 3D glasses to people that need them, that are subscribers of my channel. And then we'll have a whole 3D episode. It works, but, only so well. And then if you like cartoonist kayfabe, other small press stuff, Red Bullet Comics via Floating World Comics, which is a store in Oregon, I think. They're printing Vendetta, the Holy Vindicator. It's been 30 years since the last issue, and it looks like this person has only gotten better. But if you like the whole underground type thing, this is definitely a comic book you should check out. I got a bunch.
Very, very cool. So if you need you an issue and you're in California, head up to Berkeley. Get you a copy.
That's right.
Very nice. Last but not least, because Doc is, I guess, sleeping in with his girlfriend, probably on the way to the reservation by now. We've got Jim from Weird Science. Are you recommending any books this week?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend Nemesis Rogues Gallery. That'll be it. Well, you need your chicken nuggets, but that I think was the best one this week.
I agree. That probably was the best one. Hey, let me look at this. I thought you recommended something else.
Just everything else that I would have said. Everybody said before. The Green Arrow was good, and I agree with Dylan. It's one of the better, if not the best, issue of this little run that he had. But it is just like a, hey everybody, I like Green Arrow. Here's some things. So I will ask Dylan, because the one thing it did drive me nuts by the end. I wanted to know who those kids were and who their parents were. It drove me nuts by the end. I'm like, yeah, son of a bitch. That's the coolest thing in the whole book, and you didn't tell us. You can kind of guess it a couple, but
yeah, like
and
with Roy's is, but
Roy's. That's about it. You're like, yep, you're Roy's kid, but the others, you're like, who the hell are they? Like, is that Emiko's? And he even says villains, so that was kind of a cool play. But again, like Superman, I would say people should check it out. But I'm not going to say it's a full out recommendation. And Ultimates, anybody who suggests that is completely sus. That is, even though I'm telling you with that. Everybody who coming out of the woodwork is saying it's their favorite book in comics. I don't get it, but yeah. Besides that, I would.
I thought you were recommending FNL from Kelly Sudakana.
Oh yeah, FNL. No. Yeah, for what?
The
2 pages that I read, and I'm like, screw this. You actually got through 8 pages. So
I got through 8 pages of Kelly Sue
I got
dialogue
through 2.
before I was like, it's official. I hate every single character in this book already. I guess I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Poorly written book.
Play, right? To make your characters hateable. Like the idea that again, Mark Miller makes books where the people are incredibly awful, but you like them. Yet you're supposed to then have kids in a book and you make them just unbearable. And it's a weird play.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I think we had a good stream here today. We'll have Doc back next week as we continue on with the Comics Aficionados. And thank you much, everybody.